You ready over there? Yep. Mike's ready? Brittany?
Yep.
We're good. All right, let's see if, make sure this is where it belongs. All right, I think we're ready to start. I'd like to welcome everyone to the St. Patrick's Day edition of the Medfield Select Board on March 17th. For those, we have a good crowd here today, which is nice to see. For those of you who are in the room, if you get up and have anything that you'd like to say, we're going to ask you to either use the microphone at the lectern or the Bill Massaro honorary, not memorial, microphone there. If you do talk, if you haven't been here before and you are talking in the microphone, this is not a microphone that amplifies your voice here in the room. It's a microphone that helps pick up the audio feed for Medfield TV. So you'll think the microphone's not working. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing. So the point about this is a hybrid meeting. So basically what we have, Medfield TV is both streaming this live for people who want to tune into the meeting from outside. It's also recorded, and the meetings are, typically the recordings of the meeting are available on Medfield TV's YouTube channel. And then we also have them posted on the website for the meetings after we've got minutes and the videos posted. So you are being recorded, and so don't get nervous about that. The other thing that we typically start with is just a moment to honor our service members who are serving across the world to help protect our country. So it'll just take a moment to do that. Thank you. Okay, so let's get started. The first appointment we have on the books is Steve Caskey and Ian Rogers here to give a report out. Ian Rogers is the Medfield Veterans Agent, if people don't know that. They undertook an initiative to introduce a Hometown Heroes banner program here in Medfield. So for some of you who've even just driven through Walpole or some of the other towns around here, you might have noticed banners on the telephone poles that basically recognize and honor specific veterans from whatever wars. That it goes all the way back as far as it needs to go back. So Steve and Ian, I'll let you, where is Ian? Oh, there he is.
Up here.
Thank you for having us. As many of you know, we've recently revitalized the Medfield Republican Town Committee. One of our very first goals was to do something positive and unifying for our entire community, something that brings people together regardless of politics. In discussions, our state rep, Marcus Vaughn, suggested the idea of hometown hero banners for our local veterans, displayed on telephone poles throughout the downtown area. We immediately loved this concept. It's a visible and heartfelt way to publicly thank our men and women who have sacrificed so much for our community and our country. From the initial conversations with Marion Bonaldi, Christine Troweiler, Gus, and our outstanding veterans agent, Ian Rogers, the response was unanimous. Excitement and a strong consensus to make this happen. Ian has been incredibly supportive, and his expertise will be invaluable as we move forward. Tonight, we are here to launch this program in Medfield that's been long overdue. It would feature respectful banners honoring our local veterans displayed proudly in the heart of our town to remind everybody daily of their service and our gratitude. I'd like to take a moment to thank some key people. Banal. Bobby LaPlante. Have Ian step up. No.
Well, let's hear the presentation first. Yeah, we'll certainly open it up for, yep.
Let me know if you want the photos or anything whenever you're ready.
Okay.
I can bring them up on that screen if you want them.
I'm going to echo Steve to thank the Select Board And I came up with a proposal. Concerns. So the current proposal is to start with 10 banners in anticipation of high demand. Proposal would be for approval and potentially extending up North Street towards the post office in the future with the expansion. I've created applications. I'll pass these out. Just to give you an idea of what the applications are going to look like. So I've created them and proposed the cost of the banners to be $100. $65 for the 48 by 24 banners that will be hung up on the telephone poles, and $25 for the 24 by 12-inch keepsake banner that will go directly to the family. The remaining 10 will go towards the cost of hardware. The Veteran Service Office has requested a revolving account that, thanks to the town administration and select board, on at the town meeting. Organize and maintain the list of applications in the order received, communicate expectations of when the banners will go up for each applicant, deposit payments into the revolving account, and order the banners with the revolving account in a timely manner. And just to reiterate, Bobby the Plant has offered to install the hardware on the poles as well as hang the banners. And I believe the Veterans Service Department can absorb the initial cost of the hardware, $750, via the Veterans Grave Markers and Flags budget line item for FY '26. So I don't know if you wanted to throw up like a sample of the banners and maybe that cost breakdown.
Sure.
Well, you're doing that, just the fact that you use Marion's name, so you're aware of what she's gonna be doing for the 375th, so whatever banners go up there, we're all in step.
Yeah, not a problem.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, yeah, she was great.
So this is generally what the banners will look like. So the applications, they do say, you have the applicant name and a contact for them, email, phone number. A lot of times this is a family member of someone who may have passed. I want to make sure I have the contact of the applicant as well as the name of the veteran. We'll do rank, name, that we can have, I think they can put a little emblem in the corner. But that's generally what they'll look like. So when they come, hopefully, once the revolving account, assuming it gets approved, if it's approved, we'll start circulating these applications and ask them to bring in the application, a high-resolution photo to the best of their ability. I know sometimes it's tougher but we'll figure it out. And then a check for $100 that will go into the revolving account.
Maybe before, I'll ask you for, but I just wanted to add a little bit of commentary on this. First, I think today, the approval that we would be asked to make is an approval for the concept of where you're going. There's a lot of details that need to be worked about how this thing will work mechanically, who will be involved. And that piece, I don't think we want to review because I don't think you have that all worked out yet. I will say, I think, Ian, I think it was the Veterans Day lunch that we had a talk,
Yes.
and that's where I came away realizing that, Ian, largely through your working with Walpole and I think other towns, Ian brings a wealth of knowledge around some of the practical aspects of what you need to think about, like, how do banners wear out? What's the process for replacing banners and all those kinds of things? You've obviously made some progress on figuring out how to finance this, not in a way that requires the town to pay for it or someone else, but actually to have this potentially be self-perpetuating. So just wanted to comment on that piece of it as well. and one personal comment, and I might mention, Cameron Smith also mentioned, I hadn't thought about the fact that the banners are only up in her town at least, they're up in March or April, and they take them down in November. So you don't wear them out in the wintertime when nobody's really paying any attention to them anyway, which I thought was good. I had seen these before. Steve came to me before I could bring this up to the town, which is great. As many streets and buildings and other places here in town that have memorials or are named after people, from my standpoint, the real attraction of those banners had more to do with our students in town, growing up in this town, seeing a street name, and then suddenly seeing the banner of the person that street was named after. That's really why, as much as we simply want to honor veterans, for this town, the nature of the town and the percentage of the town that's youth that are learning things, to me, that was a very powerful reason to want to do this. And I'll make one other comment as well. I did check with the Legion about their interest in being involved. They actually have a separate effort that they have undertaken where they just want banners that are just generally honoring veterans, and they have the emblems of all the services. So that's a separate thing, but I would hope that works out to be a kind of a collaborative thing, that things make sense. So there may be some coordination there. So just in a sense, a comments on endorsement, but also on what we're looking to comment on today. So I'll start with, we've got one request from the audience to want to ask you questions, but I'll start with Eileen and Pete, and then we'll open it up.
No, I simply want to say thank you. It's funny, when Gus brought it up in one of our meetings, I had said, well, I saw it in Walpole, and I love what Walpole had done, and I'd be intrigued to see if we could do it in Medfield. And lo and behold, he's like, oh, no, we're going down that path. So I appreciate it. Ian and Steve, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing them up.
Yeah, thank you.
Pete?
So thank you for doing this. I think it's generally a good idea. I'm not quite sure how it's set up to work, but do you want to get into the details of that at this point, or should I ask you? For instance, it looks like you got a sheet that's basically a nomination form so that I could nominate somebody. Is that the way it works? Anybody can nominate somebody?
Correct. So you could
Okay.
nominate, in Walpole, we've seen older people who went to school with someone, and maybe they were killed in action or
Yep.
missing in action, but they want to remember them. So it's not even necessarily family. It could just be anyone in the town who wants to honor a loved one, preferably a Medfield resident, but I think that's generally how it goes.
Yep.
So they'll put their banner up. I do have ideas on how it's going to work. I mean, I don't know if you want to get me to go into all those details at this point.
What if it's hugely successful and you get 50 people applying?
Well, and here's where I'm going to be a little cautious, just with my experience in Walpole.
Yep.
So what happened was, they started with 8, they expanded very quickly, and I think we're only 8 years into it, and all of a sudden we have openings for Memorial Day, which was never the case.
Oh,
So what's gonna happen is there's gonna be a rush,
yep,
there's gonna be a waiting list,
yep.
and then eventually that's going to fade off. And I think that's why we would like to go with this proposal, because what we can do is we can have the full banners made up. The family gets to keep the keepsake immediately. Then we hold on to the banners. So that when interest potentially fades in the coming years, we'll have a backlog of banners that we could put them back up for a period of
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
And then we can always cycle them through, and new applications obviously can always come in.
So Ian and Walpole, do you explain to people that the banners were out and eventually you're going to take them out of circulation? That there's a lifetime to the banner, it's just not going to last forever.
Correct.
And that as the person running it, you're going to decide when that is and you'll take them out of circulation?
So I think that we have, once it's up and running, I think this year will be a little tricky based on timing, but I think an ideal is put it up right before Memorial Day and keep them up through Veterans Day. And then they can come down for the winter, air of snow and
Oh,
wind
yeah.
and all that stuff.
Good idea.
done all the banners for everyone in Medfield, which,
Understood. Oh, well, it's very helpful that you've done this before. Thank you.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, Steve knows this because I talked to him, but Bob Tandler, the commander of the Legion, I talked with him earlier, or the end of last week, I guess it was, and while that process will work, this is not a criticism, this is just the reason I'm saying we're not getting into the details yet. That process will work great for people who have family members of veterans who want to apply. The Legion may be one of the best places we can think of to go to for veterans who don't have family members to represent them here, but they were veterans from Medfield who should be honored as well. And it may be that for some of the graves that you could find in Vine Lake Cemetery in that little corner that's the Civil War veterans, it might be the historical societies that are really going to be the source of that. So if you look big picture here, there'll be some number of banners we'll have of people that families want to sponsor, but if what we're really trying to do is to capture the connections in history and our place names, we probably want some of the more knowledgeable organizations here in town to help figure out that. And that may be at some point here, there needs to be some sort of a pump priming system that covers the veterans that don't have someone here in town to pick things up. It sounds like in the beginning, we're not going to be having any trouble finding nominees to be up on these, which is great. But at some point in time, it'll probably be a more powerful message in those banners if there's Civil War veterans that are there, World War I veterans. And, at some point, there won't be anybody necessarily to speak for all of them. So, okay. We had at least one question from the floor.
I suppose, do I have to give my name?
Your name, address.
Okay, Melissa Roeder, 4 Elm Street. Not to make this political, but you had mentioned that the Republican the Republican Party in Medfield, did the Democratic Party reach out to you at all to do this with you? Okay.
Yeah, but can I jump in on that? This can't be a political, the fact
Yeah,
that
but
the
I was wondering if they had
Republican
worked on it together because it's such a fantastic idea that I would like it to see more bipartisan and be more community-based and not just one representative for political reasons. Okay. That's all.
But it's if either party wants to take an initiative on things that are good for the town, I encourage it, and you're absolutely right. And if one of them does and the other one wants to join in, that's great. But my main point is this is not,
Right.
while there's a political party, obviously, that got it kicked off, this is not that. It's not a political activity.
Yeah, no, I don't want it to be.
And I think
I was hoping that they would
Yeah.
reached out to you and you guys could work together and.
Yeah, we talked about that, where sometimes where on some of the banners it will say paid for by a certain family member or a certain group. So we talked about not doing that, just in case if there's, where it becomes political.
Okay.
Where it says and just to the point of being
Yeah.
these are sponsored by the Medfield Republican Party, and some people are like, I don't want that.
Right,
So,
right.
Even the family, so that way we keep it, non-biased, exactly.
Yeah, it should be not
Right.
political at all. And
I'll chime in as well. I'm going to I'm a registered independent, but Steve has asked me to go to their meeting tomorrow night to talk about some topics. And I think it's fantastic. He's like, Eileen, this isn't going to be like, we want you to be our party. You represent the town and we
Right.
want to have you come and share some things that are going on. So I respected that very much.
I'm a registered independent too, so, yeah.
You should come then. You're invited.
I've been at every night this week so far.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. I don't know that we need a formal vote. Are we endorsing the concept?
Yes.
I thought so.
Thank you.
I think we're enthusiastically
Yeah.
endorsing the concept. And obviously, if there's help along the way that you need from the town, preferably in this fiscal year, or in this fiscal year coming up, not of a financial nature, but whatever, if there's things that you need to help get through, I think my sense is Marion's all enthusiastic about this. It's
they've
an
been great.
additional thing.
Yeah.
The timing as the 375th anniversary is, if it wasn't planned, at least it's deliberate now that the idea came up. So the hope is to be able to get all that, and I think the Legion is trying to do what they're trying to do as well. I do know when I talked to Bob, he mentioned about having the banners go up North Street, so there probably is some coordination around what banners are going where.
And I have talked to the Legion, and
Yeah.
I'm a Legion member myself.
Yep.
So I've told them that I'm willing to, if you want to do 4 banners that are just the thank you veterans, we'll make
Right,
that
we'll
work.
make that work.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you so
All
much.
right,
Thanks,
take
Christine.
care.
Thank you.
Our next appointment is Kathy McDonald to provide an update on Outreach Department. Medfield Outreach.
Good evening, everybody. I suspect you haven't all turned out for me here this evening, so I will try to keep this brief. I'm Kathy McDonald. I'm the Director of Health and Human Services, also of Medfield Outreach. I'm here tonight to give you an update on Medfield Outreach, and I'd like to point out that get to some of her work in the slides as well. Team Small but Mighty, myself, a full-time clinician, Mia Cirulo, and I think I'm just going to point out that those are the two positions that are funded through taxpayer dollars. The next staff person you see is Kim Norgren, that I just made reference to, and Kim is here doing our recovery and opioid abatement work, and so she is funded through the opioid funds. And Chrissy King is our prevention coordinator. And as you are probably well aware, we are in year 8 of our, well, we're almost in year 8 of our federal grant, Drug Free Communities Grant. And so she works for us through the Drug Free Communities Fund. And then Maddie Fenton is our Boston College graduate intern. And we make it a point to have at least one, if not 2, graduate interns with us every year. It's a fabulous opportunity for us to give back and also to help shape their future and to expand our services in Medfield without any additional costs to taxpayers. There are 4 major components of what Medfield Outreach does. We provide clinical services, counseling, and connections to care. We provide a variety of community assistance. We do a lot of prevention work, and most recently we do opioid abatement work. And I know tonight I'm going to give you a very broad view, a very high-level view, and not go deep into the work we're doing in the interest of time. And then in the future, when we do an update, perhaps I can pick one of those 4 sections and do a deeper dive for you and be more thorough. Next slide. So what I want to bring your attention to this evening for our clinical work is really the service expansion. So, you know, as I mentioned, we're small but mighty. We have 3 now clinicians, and we provide a host of clinical services. And I know that just off the top of my head, we have provided in-house counseling for over 40 Medfield patients out of Medfield Outreach. And that service provision time averages about 15 sessions. It's shorter for some and longer for others. So I think that that is a real benefit to this community, that you can get services here in your community. For some folks that may have barriers, whether it's insurance barriers, transportation barriers, there's a variety of barriers. So we're really fortunate in Medfield to have that. One of the ways we've expanded our clinical services is through parent groups. We've had a lot of parents reach out that might be curious about certain topics like navigating technology use with their youth. Should there be rules? Six to 8 week session, April 1st. And connections to care. And then recently, I'd like to make note of the SPACE treatment. So SPACE is a very highly sought after new methodology developed at the Yale Child Center, spearheaded by Ellie Leibowitz. And it is about working with parents to get at their anxious children instead of directly working with the child themselves. Children spend more time with their parents than they do in a once-a-week session with a therapist. And so teaching the parents how to essentially stop accommodating and promoting and using affirming statements with their child has been shown to be highly effective. And both myself and Mia have been trained in SPACE treatment, and we're now offering that, which was a real big deal to get into that. You have to, it's like harder than getting concert tickets to get a SPACE treatment. It's okay, it was just collaboration with the other departments, it's fine. So what is, we used to be thought of as Medfield Youth Outreach, and we came up with this to give you sort of a glimpse of how people across the lifespan might utilize our services. So early childhood and elementary age, how might they use us or any services at Medfield Outreach? Counseling, tummy time, which is a really cool collaboration between the library, our public health nurse, and one of our clinicians for new parents, navigating adjustment to parenthood that might have questions around development of their child, parenting tips, their own health concerns, campership, backpacks, school supplies, coat distribution, so a whole variety of what we call our needs-based or needs assistance programs. Too Good for Drugs curriculum. We have purchased curriculum for some of the schools to complement some of the curriculum that they have, which aligns with our prevention work. And again, we're always available for collaboration and consultations with guidance department, wellness department, school administration, et cetera. Adolescents, middle and high school, again, counseling, Narcan training. We did a Narcan training. Unfortunately, we've learned that college campuses can be a dangerous time for kids with experimentations. So it's been more important than ever to get life-saving Narcan. For senior projects, we collaborate with school and guidance. We sponsor several youth substance-free events, including the all-night grad party, dances, prom buses, guest speakers, etc. Adults, again, counseling, consultation and connection to services, space treatment, parent groups, book reads, coffees, Narcan trainings, our community assistance programs, and volunteer opportunities through our 2 community-based coalitions, suicide prevention and substance use prevention work that we do. And older adults, bereavement group, consultations, counseling. And we've just created that's okay, you can, oops.
Keep going real quick.
No, you're fine. A bi-weekly drop-in, just open hours that I'm there at the Council on Aging, working closely with our public health nurse. And people are opening up and talking about things, which is great. Okay, community-based supports. So some of our community-based supports are Community Assistance Fund, and this is our partnership with the Medfield Foundation, funded through the Angel Run. We help folks in Medfield that might need assistance, financial assistance for a variety of things. We work closely with Park and Rec and Medfield Foundation and the Home Committee on funding camperships. Birthday wishes, holiday giving, winter coats, backpacks are all a variety of different community assistance programs, which I could talk more about, but in the sake of time, I will leave it there in case there are questions. Here's some data. In 2025 calendar year, the Community Assistance Fund supported 34 residents with financial assistance. We helped 22 children go to camp for over 51 weeks of camp, children that might otherwise not have gone to camp. That's a really strong partnership with Park and Rec. They afford us a discounted rate for our families, so our families can get more camp than they would be able to do somewhere else. It also keeps kids in their own community with the friends that they know. 71 children received gift cards through our Birthday Wishes program. 50 families, which equals over 90 children, received holiday gifts. And 20 children got new winter coats. 48 children received backpacks filled with school supplies.
Kathy, can I ask a question
You
on
sure
this? If with those numbers there, is that a reflection of an increased need? I mean, we've had more people moving into the town. Is it an increased need of the population, or is it an expansion of the different ways that we can? I'm asking you a subjective question here. Is it an expansion of the things that we're doing for people? You know, it's sort of a constant need. We're just getting better at figuring out the ways that we can help people.
I think that it's a fairly consistent number of certain population that know we exist. The population that I think we've yet to really tap into to get to ask for help is our seniors and our working class that are really struggling to make ends meet. So those folks that have to ask for help traditionally and have been good at asking for help because they've had to know how to find help. Those folks in the middle are very often not the people that come forward to ask for help despite needing it. So I would strongly encourage, it's confidential, we don't share your information. If you need help, please reach out. Even if we can't help you, we will find somebody to help you. So I would say that number is fairly stagnant, waxes and wanes. As you know, increasing costs for fuel, heating, cooling, health insurance, those things are burdening our residents just like they are probably everybody in this room. So we might see more people looking for help more often. And we just continue to assess ongoing needs and be responsive to our community as they reach out to us. These are some of our fabulous partners. All of that work that I mentioned is not done in a silo. We could not do it without community-based partners. So here are some, probably not all, and I apologize in advance for anyone that looks at, hey, my logo's not up there, so I apologize. But just know we so appreciate you and couldn't do all of that work without you. So I wanted to just quickly mention the collaboration between the Health and Human Service Departments. So Health and Human Service Departments include our Veterans Service, Ian, how fabulous Ian, the Center at Medfield, our Council on Aging, Medfield Outreach, the Public Health Department, and then working very closely with the Library and Park and Rec. And it is through this team of human service departments, we meet together, I'd say probably every other month, and it really allows us the time and the opportunity and the framework to look at how our work overlaps, where we can partner, where we can expand services without duplicating efforts, where we can increase services to our community members without rising costs. So what, like for example, us outreach and health, we started a hoarding response team. That's part of, certainly under public health. It also falls under building. It also falls under fire. It also falls under social work and treatment. So that's one latest example of a way in which we are working together. There's a variety of ways in which we're working together, and we have a fabulous team, and I think that there's unlimited potential with the things that we can do together. So I just wanted to mention some of those things you could see there outlined. Happy to talk about that further, but in the interest of time, we can go on to the next slide. I just mentioned the hoarding response team, so you can see it's newly formed. Who it's made up of? It's made up of someone from fire. It has been our fire chief, but building commissioner, veterans, public health nurse, health department, outreach, council on aging, health and human services, also looking into how our work through the Charles River Shared Services might be able to support some of these endeavors as well. Opioid abatement work. So Kim Norgren is heading up our work under the Massachusetts State Sub-Agreement. There are 7 abatement strategies that are approved to use the opioid settlement funds to target, and we are actively doing that work. What we've done to date, about a year ago, you probably remember, we had a stakeholders meeting. We offered 3 community listening sessions, gathered, synthesized the data. We used a consultant to help us with that, to help people come forward that might feel stigmatized or otherwise not willing to come to a community forum to talk about how they or a loved one or a family member might have been impacted with substance use disorder or opioid use disorder. We hired a clinician to expand our work, expand the services that we can offer our community members, and we extended mental health services, consultations, connection to care, and prevention. Those are specifically 3 or 4 out of the 7 strategies that most closely align themselves with the data that we received about how the opioid epidemic impacts Medfield. Again, it's prevention, connection to care, harm reduction, counseling. So those are the 4 ways. There's 3 other strategies, like working with incarcerated or previously incarcerated folks, that just doesn't lend itself necessarily to this community. So we have 4 that do. And this is some of the opioid abatement work. Consultations, there's drop-in. Kim has open hours and drop-in time. If anyone wants to learn more about how the opioid dollars are being utilized or has ideas about how they should, or has a need or a concern that's not being addressed, we want to hear from you. We are building up our connections with local community providers like Turning Point more safe so that when we have a community member that might benefit from those services, we can do a warm referral instead of just saying, go try this place. We can actually say, hey, call Jen over at Safe. She'll be expecting your call. It's called a warm referral. It's more likely to have someone follow through with services. These things are hard to make these changes. It's hard to look at substance use and opioid use disorder, and the more empathic and understanding and the more we can reduce stigma and have a warm referral, the more likely it is that someone will follow through with that brave step to ask for help. And then time to time, Narcan training, those are called harm reduction and education. Again, MCAP is more prevention work that we're doing. Next. Just a very brief overview. Our prevention work that we're doing with 0 to 18-year-olds. We have a 10-year grant from the feds, $125,000 per year, and is specifically focused to reduce youth substance use in Medfield. The two substances that we are focused on is alcohol and cannabis or marijuana. And this is empirically based, science-backed. It's out of SAMHSA. It's vetted. It's very complex. We'd be happy to show you there's multiple sectors that get involved to make change. But what I wanted to show you tonight is that we have some data, and this data comes from the Metro West Adolescent Health Survey. Our data also comes from youth focus groups, parent focus groups, key stakeholder interviews, and also current local and state and federal research. The risk factors here in Medfield for our youth are access and availability of alcohol and marijuana, peer norms towards alcohol and marijuana, and perceived community acceptance. So like rite of passage type of belief, everyone's gonna do it, it's okay, I did it when I was young. Those put our children at risk, thinking in those ways. So the MCAP, which is Medfield Cares About Prevention, is a community-based coalition that anybody here can join. Some of you here are in our coalition. And it brings together representatives from multi-sectors to look at these various strategies to help reduce youth. And the next slide is the exciting slide. So what you're looking at here is alcohol is a navy blue line on top, marijuana is your white line on the bottom. It starts on the left from 2018, it goes over to 2023, and what you're gonna see is a reduction in the reported past 30-day use by high school students in Medfield. So the question is, in the past 30 days, have you used alcohol? Yes, no. So you are seeing a downward slope on both of those lines. What we are waiting for and anticipate soon is the data from 2025 Metro West Adolescent Health Survey. That usually comes out late spring. School looks at it, works on it over the summer, and we usually get that information, and then it gets shared out to the public early in the fall when they come back to school. So that we can't say it's causal, right? We can only say the data suggests that the targeted strategies that we have been using since the beginning of the grant in 2019 has had an impact in reducing youth substance use. So that is yay for everybody. That's it. It's yay. These are some of the great folks involved in the work. Planning. Next. Well, and we want you to come help. So if you're interested or you want to be involved in our substance use prevention or suicide prevention work that we do, reach out. Here's the variety of ways to reach us. Anything that I talked about tonight is also on the website. If you want to learn more about it, feel free to look at our website or just call. We'd be happy to meet with you and talk to you about it. That's it. Did I keep it to 15? I tried.
You were pretty good.
1 minute per slide, 1 minute. Any questions?
Well, I'll just chime in. I've obviously sat in your Medfield Care About Prevention meetings, and I've attended some of your events. You guys do a phenomenal job, and it's such a small staff. And to see what you showed here on these slides and all the different community groups that you were able to reach out to and support, I just applaud all your efforts, and thank you.
Thanks.
It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Pete?
That was a great presentation. Thank you so much for that. I want to find out more about space, and I decide at some point, but not tonight. I did have one question. I mean, because I know that you know people in town that have issues, and do we have kids in Medfield that are going to bed hungry at night?
That's a great question. Not by any efforts of the schools, the food pantry, and us. I think that we are one of the really good problems we have is that Medfield is an incredibly supportive and responsive community. If somebody puts out a call for help, you got 10 people rushing forward, not one. So, around the time, what was it recently? Everyone was donating to the food bank. Oh, when the SNAP benefits were temporarily suspended, everyone was just flooding with help. So if people are asking for help, I would hope the answer is no. If they are not asking for help, then I would encourage them to, because there is help for them in our community.
Okay, so that.
Yes.
All right. And the data on the prevention is very encouraging. That is just wonderful to see that graph going down. My final question had to do with, I've always regarded the human services providers in the town to include the police and the fire, because they interact with people that need services. You mentioned that you meet regularly with a group of people. Do you meet regularly with the police and the fire?
Recently, I had the good fortune to sit down with the entire fire department. It was over their night shift coming and their day shift coming,
Excellent.
and then at 2. But
Thank you so much for what you and your colleagues are doing. It's really good work, so thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. It was good. Thanks for coming. It was a great presentation. As I just watched the presentation, what you covered, I'm thinking about not all that many years ago when Medfield Outreach was Medfield Youth Outreach. And we had at least by name, a very specific and narrow focus in recognizing how you've been able to reposition the organization to be the network. I don't even want to say the organization, because you're actually overseeing a bunch of organizations, but reposition the whole effort. And it sounds like it was a good decision to broaden that, because you're finding people who need help at all ages, not just youth. Certainly youth are a big part, but the needs are there for lots of different people. And it seems like you're working pretty hard to at least give people good options if they're willing to come forward, or if you can find out who they are. So
Yeah,
that's
thank
great.
you. Thank you.
Once again, if there's any questions from the floor, I'll open it up if anybody has anything they want to ask about. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. So that's the reward for having a good, clear presentation. No,
I think, or it might be the next agenda item.
Thanks, Kathy.
All right. Next agenda item is the discussion of the closure of the Medfield State Hospital grounds. And as we had promised 2 weeks ago, to review the current closure to see what, if anything, we should do to modify that going forward. For any of you who don't know, and I'm doubting that there's all that many people in the room who don't know, 2 weeks ago at our last meeting, the topic came up of the construction project that's going on at the state hospital, and there was a discussion about some violations of fences that were demarcating the construction zone, and I think we're going to keep the discussion to this topic as opposed to a much broader topic about dogs in town and things. I just don't think this is the right time for us to tackle that big thing. And
Well,
you might
more
want to
importantly,
talk a little bit about it.
Because last night we had a meeting with the dog control bylaw group, which is the group that we've, as a select board, chartered to kind of spearhead the discussion as to the next step, which exploring things such as medallions, and there's a whole laundry list of items that they're looking to hone in on. So that's why it doesn't make sense to dive into that tonight, because that's what the committee is commissioned to do. And we met here last night from 6, well, by the time I got underway, 6:30, until I want to say 8:20, so it was a really good discussion, a lot of good ideas. It's going to take some time to move it along, but really positive conversation, and I applaud the chief coming in and giving a lot of insight on, like, we caught her off guard, because we did not intend 2 weeks ago to make that call until we realized the risk and the safety that we were being exposed to, so.
Our last meeting, or last night's meeting? Oh,
Was that recorded?
Yes, definitely.
It was.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
On YouTube?
Actually, I think the women here attended last night.
Okay, I just want.
so just to very briefly summarize what happened last week. So we had a discussion with some reports around activity on the construction site itself that was dangerous. We had some confusion, at least we had some information about literal construction activity, that we had to move the school buses because the trenching work that was going on was right across the school bus parking lot. And then Eileen gave us, I think, the road report on the road going up to the north field that had not been plowed. So the sum total of all of that stuff, as we heard about it both directly and indirectly 2 weeks ago, led us to close. I think the wording, we might have been more precise in the wording, because I think some people have said the select board closed the hospital property, which would have been like everything. I think our intention was to close the campus, close the parking lot and the access road, not necessarily even specifically to close the north field, but at least if it's hard to get there, we might have effectively closed the north field. And it was driven primarily by safety concerns. There was a little bit around people not complying with some obvious restrictions, but the real driver, at least I think on all our parts, was the issue of safety.
Well, and Barry, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you don't mind, if you can come up and just kind of give from the department's perspective, because I know you and I had a conversation about a backloader, a woman, a dog, and it was not good. And, you know, even, I mean, the chief did a phenomenal job last night. Again, anyone who wants to go to the recording, I recorded, so I know for certain it's been recorded. There were a lot of good back and forths, but if you could give some insight on what the department's been up against. Prior to it being shut down, and now that it is shut down.
Yeah, I mean, essentially what we have from a police perspective is we're focusing on the preservation, safety, and life. That's our major concern. I go up every day and take a look around, make sure everything's, safe and secure. The last time I was up there, and this was probably a week ago or more, but one of the times I was up there, we have people who are walking, trying to get to the the Outlook area and going up that main road. And there are front-end loaders hauling material, 10-wheel trucks, just whipping in and out of the construction area, and that's what they're there to do. But it really is posing an unbelievable risk to anybody that's up there. Just reiterating what the chief said, this is it's a unique situation where we have a detailed construction area on what has, on town property that has previously been open to the public. If it were out on the road, that's normally people would look at that and say, okay, absolutely, we have police out there, protecting and keeping the scene safe. But if they were building a home on private property, you wouldn't see that because there's no expectation that people are going to be wandering into a construction site. But in this particular case, we have a open construction site with heavy machinery zipping in and out doing their job, and then we have people with their dogs and just some walking onto the property and in the path of these vehicles. And for us not to take action as a police department, we would be negligent. We are there to protect these people, even the people that are frustrated and say, we want to go up there anyways. We have to step in and say, it's not safe. I'm not going to put myself or the department in a position where we fail to act and someone dies. I have seen that at construction sites in my job. My previous employer, we had a police officer killed by a 10-wheel truck, and the operator of the truck wasn't doing anything wrong. It's just such a big vehicle that he couldn't monitor 360 all the time, and the police officer who was working the detail got killed. Another Medfield police officer was killed working a detail. These are dangerous, dangerous situations. And I just don't want to, and I'm speaking on behalf of the chief as well. No one on the department wants to see anyone getting hurt up there. It's just not worth it. It's not worth taking your dog up or walking up into an area where all that activity is happening and someone getting hurt or killed or having their pet injured or killed. I know it's not popular, but it's something that I'm willing to take the heat on. And we're going to go up there and we're going to protect our residents here. Any questions?
Barry, you may have opportunities to join in if we have this conversation, but
Sure.
Thanks for
Oh,
that.
absolutely.
Getting us started.
I guess I do have a question. Thank you, Barry. So that before a lot of our decision went around the fact that the snow was there, and the snow's gone now, so that access issue is no longer what it was. But what I hear you saying is that as long as the construction's going on, we shouldn't be opening up that campus.
100%.
In my opinion,
Okay, thank you.
I would not. It's just not, the vehicles are traveling all over the place up there. I was up there, and Eileen was up there at one point, and you can just, it's unpredictable. I don't know where they're going to go at any time. There's no way for us to control it. Go up and try to redirect trucks or stop people because it's such an open area. It's unmanageable from a safety perspective unless we shut it all down.
There's only one road, and that was something you and I witnessed the other day. Like, I've been poking my head in throughout the week, and throughout the past 2 weeks here, and we witnessed a massive, I don't know how heavy this big cement thing was, and the only way they can bring the trucks in is the main road. There's no other way to get to the construction site. And when they dropped it off, to see this guy have to turn around and then bring it back down, and there's another one coming, and there's so much activity, there's just way too much risk. And to your point, and the chief said it last night, like, we don't want anyone to get hurt. And for a truck to stop short, we can stop our cars pretty quick. But if you're carrying something that heavy, they're not gonna be able to stop for a dog. They're not gonna be able to stop for a person. And it's too scary. And it's not worth seeing somebody get hurt.
Exactly.
How do we,
But, go ahead.
if we keep it closed, how do we, when I walked up there on the 74-degree day, there were a couple of your officers. Sergeant Hain was there and another officer. We're not going to have police at the entrance every day for all
No,
the daylight, so how are we going to deal with this going forward?
I would recommend, and I would recommend evaluating as things evolve. The construction is going to evolve. I think there's an end date in
Roughly end of April, beginning of May
yeah.
is when this
So,
construction should be.
I mean, my recommendation was let's evaluate it as things evolve, as construction changes. We can evaluate our approach.
Yeah, but that's, then Gene's going to do the other construction as well, so.
Yeah, I think, again, it's a work in progress, and we can evaluate the safety as
See
it
where
progresses.
is,
yeah.
okay.
But I think you asked a really important question, Pete. Like, when we as a town are asking people not to be on the property, because it's not a right, it's a privilege, it's town-owned property. If we have to close things down, we have the right to close it down. But it's funny, and having talked with the department a lot, it's a great litmus test. We ask people to not do something. And when people just turn around and say, you know what, screw you, the moment they're not there, we're gonna walk there. Oh, and guess what? We're gonna take our poop bags and put it on the equipment of the workers that are up there. We got pictures of poop bags put on the equipment of these guys that are going in and busting their ass to try to get this utility work done so that Gene can go move forward with Belforge. It's embarrassing on the town to think that might not be anyone in this room, but there are people that are still going in and they have no regard. And you've all seen how much poop has been left behind. It's disgusting. So all we've been asking is be respectful, be responsible, and when we see people still go up there when they know it's closed, it leads us to that much more to say, we can't trust that people are going to follow the rules, and that's unfortunate, because we want it open, and I'll say what you just said to me on the side. I was told it was like end of April. You just said it could be done in early April, which would be fantastic.
This phase.
This
There's going to
phase.
be continual phases, but this phase of on-site construction, they're now going to move to the off-site intersections.
Okay.
There'll still be some testing and some borings done on the main campus. So I think the main campus, we need to keep closed. The outer edges, I think we can talk about, and the Northfield, but it's the center campus area, especially around the chapel, is going to be an issue.
Yeah,
Bill,
and
let's, Bill.
If you don't mind, could I just make one statement?
Barry, go ahead.
If you don't mind, just to piggyback on what you said I don't completely understand why people are protesting throwing bags of poop on machines and up in trees and things of that nature. I don't get it, but I will just reiterate what the chief said. If we find that, if we catch you, it's a zero tolerance. We are going to take action through the courts, either through civil or criminal fines. And I don't think who could disagree with that. I think every resident in town would support that. These are people that are coming in to go to work who have been invited and contracted by the town to come up, and hardworking men and women who go up there, and their machines are being vandalized with dog feces, and the stuff's being thrown up in trees. So I just wanted to make a point of saying there's a zero tolerance for this. If we see it, we're going to take action, serious action.
To add to that, if those dog bags get onto the equipment, not only is it the dog bags on the equipment, but it's clear somebody decided they'd totally ignore the construction fences and go onto a construction site just because they felt like it, which makes it harder for us to decide what to do about some of this stuff.
right.
So I would point out that you're highlighting the safety issue of the confluence of the dog walkers and the construction, but I think we also have the other safety issue, which is that people aren't picking up after their dogs, and so that the feces and our water system creates a safety issue for the town, so.
Right.
So I'm going to suggest, for our purposes of this discussion tonight, Pete is absolutely right that we have that kind of an issue. Kate, I happened to be at the hospital, not the first time I talked to you, Sergeant, the time before that when Katie Walpers was there, who had the McCarthy Fields are closed. And the gate was up, or presumably was up, and there's snow on everything. And the reason they're closed is they don't want people on the fields wrecking the fields in the wintertime so that they're not usable in the good weather. And she told me a story about a lady who was walking her dog, who was down right on those fields that all those little kids play soccer and lacrosse on. And she let her dog off the leash, which is a violation of the rules for McCarthy Park. The dog walks out into the middle of the field on the snow, takes a dump on the snow, and then comes back. And Katie asks the dog owner, "Are you going to go clean that up?" And the dog owner says, "I don't have the proper footwear." So for those who have children who are playing on our town fields, we have some people who don't even care about that. If the dog's feces drops down, the snow melts, and it gets mixed in with the dirt, and your kid gets knocked to the ground on a game and has a scrape already or gets a scrape from it, you don't even know that mud isn't infested with dog feces. So I've got to suggest those are big issues. They exist at Wheelock. They exist on our well fields. We got to figure out what to do about that. I'm just suggesting for our conversation tonight, we're trying to talk about the state hospital, the closure of the state hospital, whether we said we would revisit our decision from 2 weeks ago at this meeting to see what was still needed. The circumstances that I think, Bill, I didn't let you talk. Let me let you first talk, and then I'll stop for a second.
You can comment.
I'm not going to talk about dogs.
Oh, you're out of order.
No, so Bill Massaro, 36 Evergreen Way. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that it took us 10 years to get the state to finally agree to monitoring and maintenance the overlook, and to continue doing the sampling that they're doing up there to make sure that the groundwater is safe there. So we finally, 2 years ago, got them to agree. So we currently now have them doing water sampling 4 times a year. They're up there in February, they're up there in May, they're up there in August, and they're up there in November. So what I just want us to be aware of, the fact is that we need to recognize that they're going to need access to the back of the property to do that kind of work. We also have, again, a struggle to get them to agree to mow the overlook. Now, if any of you have been up there, you should have noticed in the last year that it really looks great compared to the way it used to look. It used to have, you could hide a car in the weed growth that was up there. And that's been taken care of. And we played a very hard line with the state to get them to do that. We got them to mow the overlook areas more frequently. So they will be up there somewhere probably starting in May, or the end of April, starting in May, and they'll be up there every month now. They were up there probably, if we were lucky, once a summer. They will be up there every month over the summer. They have planted rain gardens up there. If you've seen the work that they did last year, you would have seen that the rain gardens there, they replanted them all. They need to be up there now to start looking at that. So we need to think about how we're going to provide access for them as the construction in other areas are going on and as we shut off the areas. I didn't recognize it as a problem based on what Trinity had submitted to the planning board for their construction phases, because they alternated leaving the perimeter roads open. And it didn't occur to me that we would have situations like this where we would have to close the property all along the way. So I had sent a note last week, not knowing how long this current closure would last. I sent a note to DCAM asking them to send me a specific time of when they were going to be going up there to start the spring work in the case that the property was still closed.
I talked to Susan last week. She's all set.
Okay.
She's all set.
So
they will not have a problem mowing and having access to do the mowing and maintenance as required.
But, I mean, we need to know that our local enforcement agencies and everything else also recognize that they have the access to get there.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So that's the most important thing, is that we're all on the same page together to make sure that the work that we fought so hard to get is able to get done,
Not a
or
problem.
that we find a procedure to get there. So you understand, Christine, you understand
Doing
my...
their work is no different than the construction we're trying to get done for the infrastructure. For
But
the
again, they
future
have to be
development.
allowed onto the property.
Oh,
That's
yes,
all I'm saying.
That's not a problem.
No problem.
So if you would inform your officers that,
Oh, absolutely. No, we're in,
Yeah,
we're
we
in
check
contact.
in every
Yeah.
day pretty much on
Yeah.
who's going to be on the campus from Trinity.
So an anecdote that's somewhat related that occurred yesterday afternoon. I was driving by the state hospital, and I took a drive down south of the, on the road south of the road, and as I was doing that, I see this black pickup truck pulling out of the McCarthy Park field, heading up toward the gate. So I immediately drive to the gate, and one gate is half open, and I basically park square so this guy can't get through the gate. And the pickup truck comes up to me, and he's going like that, and I'm getting out, and I walk up to the guy in the black pickup truck. Go, my name's Gus Morby. I'm the chair of the Medfield Select Board. What are you doing here? And he says, I'm with the bus company. Okay. So he had just brought the bus back for the boys hockey team. So I said, okay. And then, but we had it's like, of course you're with the bus company. But we had a conversation, and he talked about the dog walkers down there that just blow the bus drivers off, that give them a hard time and don't do anything. So, that's a big part as we're thinking about what you can and can't do. The behavior of the people who are actually there on the site is a huge factor, and how conservatively you have to play that. For the fun of it, I'm going to uncharacteristically be a person who's going to make a case that we liberalize something. And what I actually want is Sergeant Hain and you, and I already have Chief Garrett's recommendation against doing what I'm suggesting. She feels, just so you know, so you don't undercut your boss. When I was up this weekend, I was on Saturday, I guess it was, with Sergeant Hain, just talking. I checked in twice now on how things are going, and I can say that he's very cordial in how he talks to people. I hear them smiling. I'm seeing this nodding yes and okay, and he sends them off either to the cross-country course or tells them how to get down to the fire lane that'll get them to the overlook, because we really didn't intend, I don't think, to shut. We just intended to shut down the access road to the turned out it was like 5 high school girls. They didn't even have a dog. They were just walking along, and when I apologized to them for shutting it down, they were fine. You know, they said, "Oh, no, we understand." They were appalled at the doggy bags on the construction equipment that I told them why we were doing it. But it was a decent day. There were a lot of dog walkers. They were just out for a walk with their dogs. I think you redirected them, and they were just out for a walk with their dogs. So they went where they thought they were going to go, and then they went to a different place. Very, very good-natured, very cooperative. And it occurred to me, on the weekends, there is no construction going on. So the thought that crossed my mind was, is it feasible for us to keep the campus itself closed? Because there are construction sites there, and as I heard, there are people who have cut the chain link fence of the construction sites to get wherever they wanted to get buildings. Is it possible to keep the campus closed, but on the weekends, let the access road to the north parking lot be open? Now, my first thought was, and then you wouldn't, as long as people will follow the rules, you wouldn't need to have a police detail there on the weekends to simply let the people that are trying to get to the north parking lot get there to walk their dogs on the north field.
So you're saying no quad area, nothing
No
around the
quad
campus?
area at all, no. There's 2 places that are fenced off, and our experience is that people don't, they ignore the fences, and they'll even cut through the chain link fences to get where they want to get. So I don't want to open that
I
up.
think I might be able to answer
Sure.
that for you.
Be careful, I've already gotten.
No, I can simplify it. I'm having my bathroom redone right now. And the construction guys are in and out of the house, and they're throwing the stuff into the dumpster out in front of the house. And I have 2 dogs. I have my big German Shepherd and my little tiny terrier. So while they're doing construction, I have to put them in doggy daycare so that they're not interfering with the thing. Coming up the driveway, they're gone, and there's nails all on my driveway from the stuff that they carried. And my first thought wasn't, oh, my tires on my car, it was the paws of my dogs. They're my second set of kids, my dogs. And, Eileen knows, those are my babies too. And I would not take the chance of having anybody up in a construction site area, because there's all sorts of debris, nails, screws, nuts, bolts, things that people can get into, dogs can get into. I don't know what's open for the ditches right now up there. I know there are a couple sites, but it's a construction site. Anything can happen. Anything can be up there. I personally would not take that chance. I kind of look at it like, would you allow your 4 or 5-year-old child to play up there unattended with all that stuff up there, with all those dangers, possibly?
Well, and the point I'm saying is they would drive up the access road to get to the north.
But I've been up there so much that no one's going to stay contained to one area. They're going to roam and explore. And
So
Oops, go ahead, Pete. Pete
I would
first.
just say that where our chief and our deputy chief recommend against that, that's a no-brainer to me. I'm not going to go along with that, Gus.
I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate that, and I know you're trying to accommodate.
I am, and this was supposed to be a discussion, so I'm trying to make sure we have some stuff to discuss.
How do you feel about the north field, though? About keeping the access road to allowing people to go to the north field and keeping the quad closed? There's no construction going on that backfield. How do you feel about that?
The trails. Angie has the trails.
I haven't consulted with the chief on this one, so you're kind of putting me on the spot, but it's really, from a safety perspective, if we can get
Only
it.
on the weekends. I'm sorry, can we get people to the backfield to be able to do off-leash back there?
Yeah, this is only Saturday and Sunday
Yeah,
we're talking
I'm just
about.
talking
'cause
about
there's
on the
no construction.
weekends.
Why don't I ask Rob? He's more
Rob,
familiar.
what do you think?
Well, I would say that we've had a long history of the dog walkers at the Medfield State Hospital ignoring what the rules were all along. It was always supposed to be dogs in the quads would be on leash, and none of the dogs are ever on leash in the quad. So I don't think you can parse it that way. I mean, the select board, over my objections, created off-leash areas on the front and the back of the hospital. Nobody paid any attention to that. The dogs were off-leash everywhere. You either have it open or you have it closed. And
My only initial thought on that is that if you're allowing people to go up there on the weekends, and it's kind of the same scenario that you have right now. People were accustomed to going up there and walking their dogs, and when you told them no, you're getting protests. If we're saying, okay, now you can bring them up there on the weekends, the people that go up on the weekends they're going to come back during the week.
It becomes too complicated a process.
I think could you do it? Could you manage it? Of course, I think you could manage it. But do you want to get into that pattern of where you're allowing people to go up temporarily, and then we have to jump in and be the bad guys on Monday and go, nope, you can't. Well, I was just up here yesterday. Those are the conversations that we're having now. I don't know that I wowould recommend that.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, we're so close to having this done, and I know there were questions about, well, why don't you just fence it off? To spend money on if you pay attention and you want to stick around for the next conversation, which is budget, we're so far behind the 8 ball right now with the dollars that we need to keep the town running and keep the schools running. To spend silly money like that for a couple of weeks when we just don't need to have fencing, and by shutting it down, it protects the town. Because what you don't want to hear is in 6 months, we've got a multi-million-dollar lawsuit because somebody just didn't know any better. I mean, unfortunately, the actions that have happened have forced us to, and so I don't, you know me, I'm like that. I have my dog here for crying out loud.
You were arguing the
right?
opposite thing 2 weeks ago.
So it's like, I go up there, when Rooney passed away in October, I stopped going to the state hospital. But a couple times I just went up and walked. And I see people going on the quad, and I'm like, oh, for the love of God, like, how many times do you have to ask people not to have their dogs in the quad off leash? But people do it all the time. And we've stressed it. So in this go around, when we did not plan on shutting down the state hospital 2 weeks ago, but when the discussion got to where it was, and I had been up there, I'd heard your stories, it's like, this is stupid. We're gonna have a multi-million-dollar lawsuit because we didn't do our job. Our job is to protect our residents. That is our number one job. And to think that we can just go, well, maybe we'll break it for the 2 days, Gus, I think we're setting a precedent that.
So let's hear from Sergeant Hay. He's the guy that's up there every weekend, and I spent some pleasant hours, or not an hour, maybe an hour with him, looking at a lot of people. And my whole point is, it's only I'm not arguing. I'm throwing this out for discussion. My point about the weekends was that is a time when there is no active construction going on. And yes, I was looking for a way to get to the north field more easily, other than going up. You can still get to the north field. You're just going to go up the fire lane to the overlook, cross over, and you're in the field, but rather than having to do that. So what's your view? You're the one who has to chase everybody down.
Hopefully not chasing anybody, but we'll make that happen. So first and foremost, I'm Sergeant Hain with Medfield Police. I know that's a thing we got to do. I'd like to echo the deputy and the chief's perspective here. I have a unique perspective having a department canine. First and foremost, I would not walk Nova or any of my other 3 personally owned dogs on the state hospital property as it stands right now. I've let her out while working the hospital, and every single time she gets into something or close to something that I'm not comfortable with. And ultimately, I walk her across over to McCarthy Park. Having said that, I also have the unique perspective of working those assignments or being on shift and checking in on officers working those assignments. And it's not as simple as opening a road on a weekend, because there is sometimes work going on the weekends. I've personally seen construction members coming onto the site and either loading stuff, even off hours, loading up equipment, changing over equipment, bringing in materials, obviously taking out materials, and it's not something that's, let's grab a box of screws, it's let's bring a huge, the last we saw, Gus, there was a giant structure there was like 2 3 to 6 ton structures that get dropped into the trenches. Those get delivered not always right on time, on like active hours of working. Sometimes that's off hours, sometimes that's on the weekends. As you all know, they're in the front opening. There's those 9 to 10 large cylindrical black, well, I don't know what they're called. That's not my forte. But they're right there, stationed right up front. They're there on the weekend. I would hate for something bad to happen, and to echo the deputy chief as well as the chief, with safety being a priority, it's not something that we'd want to see anything happen or that we're going to allow to happen. So
Okay.
for what it's worth, thank you.
Thanks, Sergeant.
Do you wanna hold
Then
for that?
Then I'll add one, no, you go.
Hi, my name's Frank Moran, 19 Partridge Road, Medfield. I'm actually on the dog control bylaw committee. As Eileen alluded to, we actually met last night. So a couple of things. One, I applaud your thought process as it relates to kind of opening up the backfield. But unfortunately, folks just don't follow the rules. So unless you're going to enforce adherence to people not walking around in the quad during the weekend, I just don't think it's a great idea. So, and again, I'm a proponent of dogs off leash, clearly. But I think this is a short-term pain, hopefully for longer-term gain. So, you know, I think we can probably deal with it for the next few weeks. Hopefully, once the construction's cleared up, we can come up with a solution so folks can get to the backfield. And I know that what you guys voted on back in October is probably going to change based upon the construction, because it wasn't just the backfield that was off leash, it was also the southern part of the property. That's thing number one. Number two, and I know we're not going to discuss this tonight, but I think as part of the committee, one of the things we talked a lot about last night, and I think we will continue to talk about, is the poop problem. And it's unfortunate that we have to talk about it, but it's really it's really disgusting, to say the least. So it's something we have to talk about. And the other thing I think we need to discuss is the committee made some recommendations to the board prior to the changing of the bylaw about other areas of potential off-leash capabilities that were not voted upon. And we had a broad discussion last evening relative to what's off-leash and what's on-leash, and there's still a whole lot of confusion around it. And the reality of the situation is, based upon the bylaws, the only areas that are off-leash are Medfield State Hospital. So not across the street from Medfield State Hospital. And I walk there off-leash. So I'm not following the rules, but I'm being realistic, okay? Wheelock, I mean, there are a variety of other properties that are kind of tongue-in-cheek off-leash, but they're not officially off-leash. So I think that's something that the committee's going to address to make some recommendations, again, to you guys. And then lastly, I know the discussion was the potential of maybe generating some revenue as part of the off-leash program so we can self-sustain the program to be able to deal with the poop issue, to be able to deal with the cutting the grass issue, to be able to deal with the plowing the area to the off-leash area. So, and then lastly, I would just make kind of a, so we are looking for committee members. So if anybody's interested in joining the committee and having some fun so that we can clearly not please all the people all the time, I think send your name to Brittany. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, I was a proponent of the front lawn being off-leash only because the dog owners that I saw there were not doing what the dog owners on the Northfield do. They were throwing tennis balls and it was going back and forth. But I've gotten reports that before every Belforge, because Belforge runs their events on the front lawn, and before every event on the front lawn, Jean Minio, I guess by herself, because I doubt a lot of volunteers said, "Let me help you, Jean," basically has to police the front lawn to remove all the dog poop so that people coming to attend events can do it. And that's an example of, if that's what we're getting for cooperation, I'm no longer a proponent of off-leash dogs on the front lawn. And I hope that alone will at least simplify Jean's challenge before every event or performance. But, you know, that's it. The last point I'd make is, if we do, whatever we decide to do this week, if we say we're going to review it at our next meeting is going to be in early April. So if in fact the construction is done by the early part of April, there's a good chance the construction will be done when we actually reconvene in a meeting to figure out what, if anything, we want to do to change things. Bill?
I just want to make a final comment. I would hope that some of what you've seen here, and some of the issues that you've raised, and some of the concerns that you have about public safety and what have you, is that you're going to get a chance to review Trinity's construction plan.
Mm-hmm.
You need to look at how they're going to prevent these kinds of issues from rising. And I'll throw out a couple of examples. So when I reviewed their submittal for MIPA, which I supported, by the way, in general, the whole support, you've seen my comments. Some of the things that they've had was, we'll put up construction fences as needed. And that's what we'll put in the final plan. That's not an adequate response that the town should accept. The town should be reviewing what they proposed and putting in what the town believes the town needs to do this. So when the time comes to look at the major project, the full project, the town departments need to very carefully review the construction plans.
Yeah, Bill, to be honest with you, I'm not sure if part of the reason Trinity put it that way is because we basically told Trinity we wanted to maintain public access during construction. My guess, Trinity would prefer to put up one massive fence around the entire campus.
They do, but they did. They're, if you look at the planning, so I mean, unfortunately, I had the misfortune of reviewing the planning board plans. Yeah. And they actually move the fencing that they proposed to put up in the plans that they submitted to accommodate access, either using the Cottage Street for one stage of the process, or using the service road for another stage to get you to the back of the property. But again, their safety measures are not clearly defined in the construction plan that they submitted. And you need to think about this. You're worried about nails, you're worried about stuff there. There's other stuff. These buildings are filled with lots of stuff that you don't want on the ground, that you don't want people walking by or anything else. We need to look very carefully when the time comes. The Board of Health, the rest of the departments need to look at the construction plan and determine whether it's adequate or not to protect the residents. That's all. Still want the development, still want it to happen. I hope it gets done. If I could snap my fingers and make it happen, I would do that. So it's very important to the town that we get this. We need to protect our residents. All right, thank you.
Just because people who are here remotely tend to get ignored, I have three comments from, it says Jessica's iPhone, so I know Jessica's first name is Jessica. First one is there an opportunity to better and more securely fence off the construction area and contain it and allow access to the trails if they're posting, so that it relieves the town's liability for folks who etc. Unless you guys want to chime in, I'll give a quick response to that first one. One, we have reports of people cutting strong construction fences, so you can keep putting up stronger and higher fences, maybe even barbed wire, and there'll be a way around it. So I don't know particularly that that's a good given that this is a short-term project, I don't know that that's a good short-term fix. The issue around the town putting up signs to relieve the town of liability, I'm sure we can put signs up and it will give us some better legal status to protect ourselves or defend ourselves. We're here trying to not have people get hurt. So it's not, certainly being legally protected in a prudent manner is important. But even if that was true, we could put signs up and then people could do what they want. And if they get hurt, shame on them. I don't think that's the kind of solution that we're looking for right now. So I appreciate the thought on that one, Jessica, but that's probably not that. The last point about the whole people wanting to be able to enjoy the open space, that's absolutely something we want to have done. We preserve the open space. If anything, I think it would be easier for pedestrians that don't have dogs to come after Eileen and me, because we do have dogs, for being tolerant of dog owners who want to walk the property, to the point where people without dogs who want to walk the property just don't do it anymore. I think and that, I don't think it would be totally justified, but you'd have a stronger argument saying you guys are biased, you own dogs, and you don't listen to us. If speaking personally, I feel like in some ways I've sort of ignored pedestrians that don't have dogs, mainly because I haven't been willing to say so. People, not pedestrians, people with dogs, you can't come. But it's a hard balance, and I'm not sure that it's been balanced. Jessica's second one: construction occurs everywhere, all the time, in much more crowded places. I lived in the Seaport amid the boom of major and significant construction. I assume that's the Seaport District in Boston, and that had a lot of construction. And they were able to secure construction areas without disrupting nearby green space. Can they not access from the driveway versus the main road? I think the short answer to that is no. The one workable road to get access to the campus is the access road right by the security trailer. So right now, at least, I think that's the only good option. When we get into the later stages of this early infrastructure, where the infrastructure is being brought to Belforge and also being brought to the buildings that are in the southeast corner, I can envision the possibility, I don't know how Trinity is going, I can envision the possibility of having it's a shame that if it takes that much. Next, as someone with a young child, I definitely agree we need to clean up poop. I don't want my daughter falling in dog poop. What I will say is that it's not only dogs off leash / their owners. Okay, I've had multiple instances recently with on-leash owners not cleaning up poop, including in our front yard, because the owner was looking at their phone versus the dog. It's an issue amongst the town, not exclusive to off-leash dogs. Totally agree. What I tried to do at the start of this is to say today's discussion is about what we're going to do at the hospital. I fully recognize we have a town-wide problem about dog poop. We got a picture this past week of a turd in front of the entrance to the middle school. This is not, when the new water treatment plant down behind Wheelock opened up, within a week I had a picture from Mo showing a dog poop right on top of a manhole cover marked water. So there's incredible irresponsibility going on. And yes, it's on-leash dogs, off-leash dogs. I just was hoping we weren't going to try to tackle that one tonight, that we deal with that over time. And then I think Jessica's last one. No, maybe not. We are a town trying to promote inclusivity, mental health, and peace within our town. But all I'm hearing in this meeting is making assumptions about large groups, tax-paying citizens who do clean their poop. Of people because a few or small subset are making poor decisions. Incredibly judgmental, honestly concerning as a citizen who chose to raise children in this town. Is this what we are about? Making broad assumptions and judgments. Let's go to solutions and work together. I don't think anyone has suggested that the majority of dog owners are doing this. The issue is too many dog owners are doing this. If there's an example of a responsible dog ownership group that I've seen in Medfield, I don't see them because they're usually not there on Saturdays. It's the group called VizWiz. That was a group, before any of this stuff became an issue, would show up on Saturday mornings and deliberately police the whole campus. if there's anybody who kind of is modeling what we need dog owners to do, it's those folks. I assume they're still here. I just haven't seen them in a while. So if we implied that the majority of dog owners are the problem, Jessica, that wasn't the intent, and I don't think it's the case. Next, Jeff Hyman, Metacomet Street. Open trenches remain after hours and weekends, so it remains a hazard and a legal liability. I think Jeff is arguing to not open up things. He said, disregard my previous question. It must have gone away because that wasn't a question. Jessica is back. I don't understand why we would commit to such a significant construction project without being able to implement proper safety measures like secure fencing, signage, and monitoring. Regardless of the closure, without those, it feels like there is still liability for the town, or am I incorrect? What if kids wander into the property? Is there risk even though it's technically closed? You know, there's a legal question there. My point is, if we're doing all this extraordinary stuff to allow dog owners to simply have access to the North Fields, I think that's not reasonable for the current phase of construction. So I understand the sentiment. I don't think it's prudent for us to go too far down the road. And then Melissa's gone. Melissa Rhoda, is it possible to open the parking lot near the group home and get to the back field through that field? I don't understand, but
Group home? I don't know.
the group home.
Across the street from me, too.
Okay, I think Jessica, I think I'm on a loop with you. I'm getting the same messages, so I think I've covered everything that's come in. Sure.
We just need the microphone.
Yeah, grab the microphone. We'll do up front first and then go to you, Frank. Yep. There we go. Send it to the front.
Thank you. I'm Jerry Cressup. I live at 59 Causeway Street here in Medfield. And I appreciate the concern about safety. I share the same sentiment. I worry about the safety. But I realize this is a short-term problem. This project will be over in a month. But I am concerned about the longer-term project. And I hope we learn some lessons from this, because the short-term reaction is the safety issue means that the public can't access the hospital site. But the contractor is the one creating the safety problems. It's their trucks, it's their heavy equipment, and their activity. So they have a duty to protect us from those hazards. So why don't they have fencing up that's adequate? If people cut the fence, they should repair it. If it's an easy fence like a snow fence to push aside, then they should put up a wooden fence that can't be pushed aside or cut or accessed. They need to do that. And if something should be shut down, then the construction should be stopped until it's safe.
Yeah, I totally disagree with that. When you have...
Because it's a
So what
public
you're
road.
basically saying is like you should put up buffalo fences like they have in zoos.
It's a public
so
road.
people can't force their
Are we
way
going to
on
let
it.
them drive
It's not a public road.
on Main
It's town-owned
Street
property.
dangerously with nails falling off the truck? Because it's construction trucks driving through town. Why do we accept that at the hospital, but not on Main Street? It's common for contractors to have to, they're responsible for safety and security. It's not unusual to have a contractor provide and prepare a traffic management plan that they follow. So if
The
they need to
bus route
access roads that we're sharing, they need to do it in a way that protects us and allows them to do their work.
So, and Christine, you can correct me if I speak out of turn, but, so a lot of this is being done by Eversource, right? Some of the...
No, this is all Woodhull Construction, our
But they're doing it under our permit. We gave them permission to use our roads.
They're
They
our
don't.
contractor.
Yeah, well,
And in the contract, because Jerry, what I'm trying to read from you is every contractor who does work responsible for a fence, or do they push it back on the town because they're doing town work on town land? Would it be?
well, this is a complicated issue because we're the
It's-
owner and we're hiring them, but I'm looking at it as you know,
So I don't
a
disagree with
Medfield
that,
person.
and I made a note to myself, we meet with Trinity once a week, and we have discussions and meetings with the contractor on site, and so the note to myself was to talk to them about that is not acceptable to have any nails or anything falling off the trucks up there, so they need to address that immediately. So they did put the fencing up, it was taken down, people are walking through that area, but I think bigger than that is coming around some of the corners on the campus, and they have to do that work during the daytime, which is also very popular for people to be up there. So that's the concern of whether or not, we could have details up there directing them out of the campus,
I'm not
but
speaking about the short-term work. I'm thinking, when there's 2 years of construction work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want the solution to be that they just put a fence around the entire facility, including the access road to the back, so that people
no,
can use the field.
we definitely need to keep
That would
the
be not
access open.
acceptable.
Yeah, no,
I'm
the
just
access
suggesting
needs to
we
be
learn
open.
from this issue.
Yep.
I don't think anyone anticipated this happening
No, I honestly thought we could all get along.
in the short term.
If we thought, we were genuinely bummed out when we realized that people, when they see these big trucks, then they see trenches, you would think they would stay away, right? I mean, that's just common sense, but as we said last night in the dog control bylaw meeting,
True.
it's the few that ruin it for the many, but the few end up putting everyone at risk, right? Because it's that first person that's either severely injured or killed. They come back to the three of us and say, because it's even happened with some of the intersections. We get accused of, we're not thinking of safety. Well, we are, but there's so many moving parts. This one, it's like, okay, let's just shut it down. It's the easiest, it's disrupting people's lives. I get it. And it's not, the thing I'm going to just say is, the hospital is not shut down. When you think of the main campus, that's what we're saying. You can't use the access road, I get it. But if you go across the street, you walk down Sledding Hill, and you go across, you have all of the trails. And then when you get to the back side of the hill, we have no control over that. That's Dover. So there's actually a lot of land that's open. It's just the one I know the easiest access is to go up the service road and park near the mural building. But that, unfortunately, right now has to be shut down until at least early April. And then, we can readdress it.
Understood.
But there's a lot open for, I mean, even the field that's to the right and to the left, it's owned by the state. It's not owned by us.
Yeah, my only point is, Trinity has the opportunity to plan. Hopefully, they're learning from this issue.
They're watching all of these meetings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Trust
and
me.
if your point was on the long-term construction, totally agree.
What's
that
happened
you
here?
need-
I mean, you did
need
what you had to
yours.
in the short term. I'm
Right.
not trying to
Right.
Monday morning quarterback what you did, and it'll
We
be
are.
over in a month.
We are.
Yeah,
We
no,
are.
no, Trinity, I'm really hoping that Trinity is able to secure spaces so that they can use the road that actually the utilities are going up right now. That would be ideal, right, if they needed access up and down the campus. So it's a paved road, it's wide, and you can easily see that if people are not allowed in the front half of the campus, that's really simple to do. But right now, it's just that one road, and I can only imagine how rutted the back road is now. There's a lot that's going to take care of.
We'll go back to Frank behind you there.
Again, Frank Moran, Partridge Road. I just wanted to kind of respond to Jessica's comment relative to the assumption that there's a small subset of people that are ruining it for the larger assumption of people. And I'm not convinced of that. So, and again, Eileen's kind of sick of me hearing this, but I typically don't walk it at Wheelock. So for transparency purposes, my wife and I have a dog business. You guys know that, right? So we do 2 or 3 dog walks a day. Typically don't walk at Wheelock. We've been walking at Wheelock for the last couple of weeks. The first time I walked at Wheelock a couple of weeks ago when there was still snow on the ground, there were probably in excess of 200 or 300 dog poops. Okay, I'm not exaggerating, right? Every foot there was a dog poop walking
We
up.
received 87 pictures one afternoon.
Walking up the path. Now, you can't tell me, right, that that's a small subset of people that are walking their dogs that are leaving all that poop. So, again, I know this isn't the forum for that, and it's unfortunate we have to be talking about dog feces, right? But the fact of the matter is, it's not just 2% of the people, okay? It's a large percentage of people who, for some reason, feel they're entitled and they don't have to pick up their dog feces. So, anyway, that's my comment.
Yeah, one other disheartening thing, and Sergeant Hayne, you, if I've got this wrong, you can correct me, but in the campus, so we have the dog poop, the duty calls, the barrel, the barrels and containers. And for the life of me, there's one of them knocked down right in the center of the campus. These things were put in place with concrete. And I'm trying to figure out, I'm looking for the hole that the concrete made when this thing gets knocked down. Not only get knocked down, but the actual container that's on the post is crushed So that, and I'm looking at it saying, well, we did have some windstorms. I don't know how this thing got here, and I don't know how the container got crushed, but if we also have people who are not only not complying, but are actively vandalizing the things that we put in place at town expense to try to avoid that.
I would say.
Maybe it was construction.
I would say
Maybe it was
construction. I saw the one you're talking
Okay,
about.
okay.
That looks like it got clipped by a truck.
Okay, all right. Then
We'll have it put back up.
I withdraw, well, you'll have to get a new barrel.
I'll have to
Okay.
get a new one.
So thank you for the comment, because I was sitting there, going, I can't believe people are doing this.
No,
And I
no,
jumped to a conclusion I shouldn't have jumped to.
I will say relative to the hospital, and again, I know there's still dog poop around the hospital, but those barrels, at least prior to the closure, were being utilized. So every time I would go throw dog poop in there, which was 2 or 3 times a day in different barrels, they were primarily full and typically not overflowing. So people are throwing poop away and they're utilizing those baskets. So.
Yeah, fair point. I'm going to propose that I think what I've heard here is that we are going to keep the campus, to include the access road, closed between now and at least our next meeting 7 days a week. That's, I think, what I've heard is the consensus. That's a clear recommendation from the police around how to handle it. I think, Eileen, you endorsed that view, Pete?
I do.
So I will take a motion to continue the current restrictions.
Second.
So to be clear, just on the wording, we are keeping the campus closed. We are keeping the access road to the north field, or the north parking lot, closed. We're not doing anything to the north field itself. We're not doing anything. We would want people to obey the rules on the south of Hospital Road. But that's, for those who thought we had closed the entire hospital property, that's not what we're doing. We're doing the campus, the access road, up until you get to the north field. All those in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. And for those who came on whatever side of the issue you are, or those who listened, I hope this discussion was at least you consider to be a cordial, respectful, and thorough one. Because I can't see the clock because of that. Okay.
Yeah, so if you can
All
just
right.
let everybody know, that's okay.
Good seeing you guys. It's been a while.
Right now?
No, just like
All
your
good?
details.
Oh, yeah,
Just to
yeah,
make sure that that's okay.
Now, as discouraging as this sounds, agenda item number 4, sounds like this is going to be a long meeting, but usually we really pick up speed. So agenda item number 4 is the FY 27 budget.
Thank you.
It's the FY 27 budget.
Well, we've been talking so much about getting to our one. Oh, we have a lot of jackets.
You would have figured that out as soon as you went out the door.
So we just wanted to provide you with the departmental budget summary as a whole, since we've been discussing primarily the list of cuts, but we had not talked about the budget as a whole, so we just wanted you to have a copy of that. This has been uploaded to our website. The 3.6 reflects what our level service would have been, and then the next column is our reductions, and that list of reductions gets us to that 1.8 Proposition 2.5 compliant budget. So we just wanted you to have the whole budget in front of you.
Thank you.
Great. Let's see, is this where I should probably talk about the letter?
I think that kind of fits in right with the budget update, and then we can do the warrant articles after.
So here, you all have gotten a copy of the letter at town of some previous meetings that Steve Callahan had pulled together a working group of he and Ed Vazella from the Warrant Committee. I'm representing the Select Board, although both Christine and Brittany are at the meetings. And Michelle Kirkby is representing the School Committee, but the superintendent and the finance manager for the schools also attend. What Steve was trying to do was to have a series of informal discussions among representatives of the 3 groups, the Warrant Committee, the Select Board, and the School Committee, with the goal of arriving at a unified view about what, if any, override we should be recommending to the taxpayers. So if you look at the warrant article or warrant report list, the articles, there's one article to pass the Prop 2.5 compliant budget. That's then followed by another article that's proposing an override. And in fact, there's a third article. I got to get this right. Make sure it's the third article.
Wrong in here, but yes.
Okay, there's a third article that's establishing a stabilization fund that would take some of the total approved override funds that the taxpayers will be asked to approve at this year's town meeting, put them into that stabilization fund for use in FY28. The goal being to pass one single override that covers the pressures that we are seeing in FY27 and the pressures we anticipate seeing in FY28, get those amounts all covered in a single override article, ideally approved here in our upcoming town meeting. So there won't have to be another operating override article next year in FY28 in advance of a debt override article that everyone's anticipating will be presented to the voters at the 2028 town meeting to approve funding for a new school. And in today's meeting, Michelle Kirkby pointed out that even though that's when the debt override gets approved, taxpayers won't actually see the effects of that for another 2 years. So probably in 2030 is when the actual financial impact of that debt or override would show up. So that's the basic structure. In trying to introduce that to the taxpayers, the warrant committee had drafted this memo that you have here. And what it's intended to do is to try to be an early communication to go out to the public to explain why. I was distracted when everybody was taking pictures of your dog. But this was a short summary message to the public, or is intended to be a summary message to the public, to try to help explain to the public what the purpose of the override articles and the stabilization fund is going to be, to try to reassure the public that the warrant committee, school committee, and the town have all done their best to try to take as hard a look as they can at the budget, to exercise as much financial discipline as possible to get the necessary override that they need, that I've gone on record saying I think that this is a year that we probably do need an operating override. So to get the override that's being requested, to try to convince the taxpayers to support that override article. I think the override for FY27 might not go down easy, but I think that one's understandable. Explaining to voters that this override includes funds for FY28 and helping them understand why it's being done that way and what the commitments of the town are to assure the taxpayers that they won't be hit with another override article for FY28. This is intended to do that. What I would like tonight, if you're comfortable, the two of you are comfortable, is in recognizing this is not an exactly finalized article. I can tell you the discussions that we had at our meeting today, and I'm saying at our meeting today, which means the select board, the warrant committee, and the school committee have not approved a tentative agreement that we reached today, is that the operating override article will probably be about a $2 million request. That will include the money. You could almost split it in half and say 1 million of that is for FY27, although I think actually a little more than $1 million is FY27, and then the other $1 million is for FY28. So the working group, which carries no weight as far as authority goes, reached an agreement that seemed to be the right kind of override to ask for. The little yellow things you see in highlight there basically are a placeholder for what will be the allowable budget growth for schools and the allowable budget growth for the town for FY28. So a year from now, it's going to be the same percentages that are driving the allowed growth for FY27, but those same percentages will apply for FY28. So it's got to be somewhere in the vicinity of a 3.6% growth rate for the schools in both FY27 and FY28, and a 3% allowed growth rate for the town in both FY27 and FY28.
So can I ask a clarifying question?
Yep.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, and I was slightly distracted, so that's why I'm asking.
Okay.
If we do, so we are potentially asking voters to do an override this year that's actually taken care of next year, instead of having to do an override this year and then asking again for an override. And people
Yes.
say, I don't want to do back-to-back overrides.
Right.
Now, my concern is, I watched the warrant committee meeting a week ago, and Steve did a really good job of showing if we do 5%, it's like, I'm gonna round up and say $1,200 a household.
Yep.
The average
Yep.
household being, valued at
Mhm.
800,000 to $1 million.
Yep.
And then they kind of went back and forth and said, like, what's the number that people can wrap their head around? So let's
Mhm.
just say I think the school always had a higher percentage and the town had a smaller percentage, and when they were looking at certain numbers.
That's been evened out a little bit.
Okay, but long story short, if, let's just say they go with, you know what, we're hearing $1,000 is gonna be the mental thanks but no thanks.
Mhm.
So if people were to pass this and the percentage worked out to be on average $800 more per household, they're agreeing, in theory, to 800 this year and 800 next year.
Well, they're paid because the increase, so let me cut, I can be a little more precise for you.
Okay.
The warrant committee's projection of what this 2 million, it's slightly more than 2 million plus operating override is that it will affect the average real estate tax by adding $884 to it. In understanding that number, you need to recognize that the allowed 2.5% increase from Prop 2.5 is 400 of that. So that additional $2 million, the actual
So it's really
isolated,
400. You
so
went
it's really
484.
it's really $484 on top, or 483, because I think the warrant committee projected $401 is just from straight Prop 2.5, no override, your taxes would go up $401. If we pass a $2 million override, your taxes would go up an additional $483 for a total increase of $884.
And that would be this year, and then we're basically saying we're gonna do the same thing next year, so we don't have to.
And then well, we're not going to do the same thing next year, it's just that suddenly then that 884 is part of the core tax levy, so you will be paying that 884 more next year because it's already baked into the tax levy. And then on top of that, if nothing else happens next year, you'll have approximately $400 more just from a Prop 2.5 compliant budget in FY28. Our taxes are going up $400 a year when we don't have overrides.
Right.
People maybe not realize that. And then obviously the $6 million question is, and then how much is the school going to cost when we go for a debt override in 2 years? And there's some things going on. There is a fund that's a reserve fund that's taking money in. The warrant committee's targeting $5 million, and the intent for that is when we do have to finance the school, that we would use $5 million in a way that would blunt the upfront impact.
Right.
You know, think about it, if you have a mortgage, you're paying down the mortgage all the time. We usually take out straight debt and we pay down the mortgage. So imagine if you had $5 million you could take to clip off the very top of that debt to offset the impact. That's the plan. That's what the plan is. So this document is is basically designed to try to explain and reassure taxpayers that what's being proposed here is a responsible proposal. It's been, the amount that's being requested is prudent. It's trying to explain why, approving 2 years' worth of override in 1 year is a good thing for taxpayers. And one piece of that is because it's basically setting the expectation that there won't be another operating override. You know, we have cost pressures right now, assuming the scenario in a year is not so drastically, assuming everything doesn't blow up. The intention here is to not have an operating override next year, so it's not even something to worry about. And it pre-specifies the growth rates for both school and the town.
So the second year doesn't automatically kick in if it's not needed.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Yeah, the money that would be put into that stabilization fund would then have to be approved to come out of that stabilization fund to be applied. So you're right. If suddenly we have an economic boom and the price of gas goes to $2 a gallon, and we suddenly say, gee, we've got this amount that's in the stabilization fund itself does not die or expire at the end of FY '28, right, Christine?
I'm
There's
sorry,
no ex- oh,
I'm
oh,
sorry, I'm slightly distracted by the dog.
You gave me a,
My fault.
Christine gave me a scrunchy face just as I said that. I was thinking she was saying, he's saying it's not going to expire. I think it might, but no.
No, I was
Okay.
saying, Bennett just peed on the floor.
Okay, so as I said, this stabilization fund does not expire after 1 year. If
No,
we don't
it
need
does
it,
not, no.
we'll be doing, no,
Sorry.
you
No,
relax.
I will
Your-
refocus. I will
Your owner will be able to afford dog food for the foreseeable future.
No, the money will go in the stabilization fund. The stabilization fund does not expire. It needs a town meeting approval to dissolve it, which town meeting can do
Right.
with a simple majority.
So the ask of the two of you at this point, if you're comfortable with this in the state that it's in, would be to allow me to sign on behalf of the school committee, school committee, yeah, why not do it all? The select board, so on our behalf that we endorse this, and we basically are saying we support this unified statement, yeah. So if you're not comfortable with it, the only reason it would be helpful to do it is that would then allow the warrant committee to kind of put it out as soon as, the warrant committee hasn't actually approved the final version of this. But because we're not meeting until April.
Yeah, no, I have complete
Okay.
confidence. I watched
Okay.
Steve. Steve did a great job
Okay.
last week.
Question? This procedural question at the town meeting. So if I remember correctly, we did something different under my story than we did before. We weren't drawing individual ones and doing them out of order. You grouped them, and I assume this is going to get grouped somewhere separately, and then you figure out where in the process you want to bring it in the middle of the meeting, the end, the middle, or whatever. I don't need to know.
That's up to the moderator.
That's what I mean.
But
That's-
those
the
three
budget
articles,
articles will be
are
together.
sequenced, so you won't, they won't show up randomly. There's
Just
a logic to it,
curious,
yeah. Other questions? All right, then I guess you two need to
Well,
authorize me.
My
Okay.
position, Gus, is that I think this makes sense to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that we want to be educating the residents about it, but just the fact that I've only just seen it at this meeting and haven't really sat and read it yet, so I would like to hold it for the next meeting.
Okay, then we'll do that. Okay. That does it for that one. Next is review the draft 2026 annual town meeting warrant articles.
So I have a couple of specific questions. We'll go through each of the articles and take your positions at another meeting,
Yep.
hopefully on the 7th. But I do want to talk about a few of them, and one of them actually relates to Bill's question, and that is there's some renumbering that's going to happen because the sequence of the article for the budget will be the Proposition 2.5 compliant budget will be the first. Then we will discuss and vote to create the override stabilization fund article as you just described, Gus. And then after that will be the fiscal year 27 alternative operating budget, which is contingent upon the ballot question. And that is the budget override question, which is essentially another budget. Okay, so those three. So in your order in here, they're in the wrong order, but they will be renumbered and done. I would
Yep.
like to talk to you about Article 25. There. Okay. Article. No, sure, the warrant was in your. Yep.
Yeah, if you want to
Yep.
look, if you want to look on.
No, I got it.
Okay.
Okay. Article 25, which was the Danielson Pond Dam, was withdrawn by the Conservation Commission last night, so we are removing that from this year's warrant. Article 29, I wanted to have a conversation with you, and this is the reduction of the town meeting quorum. It's currently 250, and actually, let me pass this out real quick. This is our most recent attendees at town meeting, so that'll give you an idea of where we are in numbers. I had put a placeholder in of 100, and I have spoken to Gus today about this, that I believe actually my notes were 150, but I put in 100, but I believe you had talked about 150 as where you wanted to go. So if that is true, then I will make that change. That was just my,
Yeah, I think that was my
Transcription.
recollection, we went to 150, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we will go to 150 on that. And then Article 36, which is, hold on, let me get there. Okay, Article 66, jeez. Article 36, we had talked about the dog white walking licensing fee. And obviously, as Frank presented tonight, the Dog Bylaw Committee just met last night. They're not ready for a warrant article for this year's town meeting. So I would suggest that we withdraw this. We don't know what's going to be recommended.
So that puts us a year off.
It puts you a year off because
do
I don't
anything
think
about-
I don't think they're ready between now and the time in which we have to go to print. They have a process or,
So let me ask, so is there something that could be put in there in terms of authorizing a medallion program, for some way to explore, so that we could implement a medallion program in the next year?
you need very specific, because you're changing the bylaw, so you need specific language to change the bylaw if you're going to institute that with the fees.
And
Yeah.
we wouldn't be able to institute a medallion program until it gets voted on by the public?
Yeah, if you're changing the bylaw.
And that's where the fall.
Yeah, town meeting would need to approve that.
But we, as a committee, can modify throughout the year, like if we need to address, you're gonna hear the dog control bylaw we bring forward, we need to address Wheelock in terms of, I think the schools actually control the field right behind Wheelock.
Yes.
So that's not really for us to have any comment on. I'm sorry. And then, you've got the big soccer field to the left, that's not, that's under control by Medfield Soccer. a private
Through,
organization.
yeah, through the schools. The schools lease that property.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those two areas should be on leash, but we were talking about that last night. So that's something that the schools can take care of without a
Yeah.
bylaw change? And
Yes.
then if we were to address, like, HomeQuest, again, that's something that we would have the authority to vote on, like we voted on walking on and off leash at the state hospital.
Yeah,
Okay.
the issue is when you are increasing the fees, you're setting a program for fees, you're gonna change the bylaw and institute that, and you're gonna talk about what the enforcement is, that needs to be a bylaw change.
And the practical implication, not fighting the bylaw requirements, but the practical implication, given given the budget decisions, I think, that have been made, now, this may change with an override, but the town funded this duty calls service up at the state hospital out of town funds. At the time, the way I viewed it was we had a big problem that was, even though the town was paying for it, it was an effort to try to make most of that problem go away. It probably made more than 50% of the problem go away. I don't know that it made most, if we're talking 90 to 95% of the problem go away, but leaving that aside, as things stand right now, there is no funding in the town budget to pay for that service. The thought was to try to pay for that through some sort of a medallion program. So we will be setting ourselves up to not only not have solved the poop problem as it exists right now, but to have gone back to making it worse because the receptacles for the poop won't be there under contract, and so nobody will be cleaning it up for people. That may lead to some more austere decisions about dogs being allowed on town property, I guess. Just across the board, or at least across specific sites of town property. Because we won't have the money to pick up for the people that aren't doing a good job.
And the same is true if we were to increase the dog licensing fee. Is that a, oh, is he okay?
He's pooping.
Oh, Jesus, I'm having a bad night here.
Come here, baby. I'll take you out. Come on. It's okay. I'll be back.
This,
Scene again.
this should get better. I don't have to do this in future meetings.
The back and the front doors are open.
Oh, wait, Kathy, come here. Kathy. I've got one better for you.
It's all open.
But if you go to the side, you can come in the side.
So starting immediately, we're going to have a competition during select board meetings to see who can bring the cutest dog in.
Well, it's not something I wanted to do. I get
It's
stuck
not
in a
just
pinch here.
looks, it's behavior during our meeting.
Sorry, folks.
Then we'll go to macaws or something else.
So from a dog licensing fee, if we were to change that, is that a,
I'd have to look at the code. I think you need to
Dog
change it.
licensing is tied into something separately. That's more complicated. There'd be questions about whether that's a permissible component of the dog licensing.
Okay. Okay, because the one thing I will just say, one snippet about last night when we got into this pretty intense medallion conversation, which was really good, is that, all people say is, we don't care what we're paying, all we want is a clear expectation. If you're telling me we can run on the back field off leash, then it should be mowed, right? But it can't be, you paid the money and you can only use it. And so there were it was really good conversations that I can capture and summarize when it's like, if we're gonna do this, we as a town have committed, these dollars are providing revenue, so there should be resources to cover.
And I would point out the backfield is about 2/3 owned by Dover, so when we
Right.
say
Oh,
it
no,
should
we
be
said that.
mowed, yeah.
But if you're coming off the parking lot for where, on our side, it should at least be mowed there. And then, and that's a question I just have, like, I haven't seen the contract for any mowing going into the.
It was a
Oh, was
two-year
it 2-year? And we're happy with what was done, so we're good, okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. And so that was.
What else?
That was it. So my question was, did you want to withdraw that for tonight? I just think we're not ready to go.
What do you think, Eileen? I mean, I hate to say we're not ready to go, because that says it's a year and a half before we might be ready to go. And there's no,
When does
as
this have
long
to
as we have, we got to withdraw it
But
before we send it for
don't
print.
forget, it has to pass muster with the AG's office, so it needs to be carefully drafted, and
The question
you
is,
need to use a template that you
Have to be
know's
corrected
already
within
been
2 weeks and just,
approved.
Like, ask it.
I
question
did,
is,
I
do we
mean, we're
need to
going to print
withdraw
on the
tonight?
8th.
Or do we want to
And
see?
the problem is the warrant committee wants to review it too.
I don't think there's any forcing function to withdraw it tonight if something miraculous came through between now and then. It's just like we're just conceding a year and a half.
Just give, I can connect with Frank and I can connect with Jill, and without breaking the open
Okay.
meeting by not going to the whole group and having a formal meeting.
Okay.
Because I don't disagree with what you're saying, is, like, if we can figure this out, it's not brain surgery, like, what can we put in there? It's worth a shot.
Okay.
Yeah, I forget whether you said it was Newton.
Yeah, Newton has a program.
Yeah,
Newton has
so
a
you
program,
might be able to
Dedham, I
get-
think, has a Frank was summarizing last night quite a
Yeah.
few of the programs that exist.
So if we
Not a
glommed
general
onto Newton's bylaw, maybe it's not that hard to write a bylaw,
Okay.
even if it has to pass AG muster, because it probably already has ones. So.
Okay.
Okay, we'll hold on that
Awesome.
one.
Thank you.
Keep it, okay.
Okay. So, I'm just trying to think, I'm sorry, I'm trying to think out loud. What I may do then is I may move that to the very last article.
Yeah.
Just in terms of numbering, because all the other committees are
Sure.
looking to start to
Yeah.
publicize their articles and
Yeah,
give
yeah,
their numbers. So
yeah,
I may
that's
move
okay.
that just to the very end.
Yeah.
Okay, you're fine with that?
After free cash, or
It's going after free cash.
nobody will be here. Once we get past free cash, everybody walks
Well,
out.
that'll keep everybody there.
Not why we're doing it, people.
That's a good point.
All right, so
Okay.
I will,
Okay.
Chris Potts, 7 First Street, just a clarification on if this was a non-monetary incentivized sort of type of thing. You know, like Rocky Woods used to have, you'd apply, you'd get your lanyard, and it didn't cost anything, it was just sort of, would that be something that would have to go through the bylaw? Could you do it as a sort of a interim step?
I think
before
they were
things
looking to
happens?
raise revenue out of this, was my
yeah,
understanding.
the revenue is the catch.
Okay, but it is the revenue part that's the catch. That would have to be a town meeting article.
I think you,
No, anything
no,
that's a bylaw, if it's gonna be a
Binding.
bylaw,
yeah.
so we have a dog control bylaw, if you're gonna amend any part of that.
I think
It's the same
it needs a bylaw, otherwise there's no
Okay, it's not
enforcement of it.
binding,
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is like, almost like
Yeah,
a good
non-enforceable.
neighbor campaign, like if you're wearing a bright pink tag, you're a good neighbor by helping us, you know what I'm saying? More
You don't
like
get
an
to
interim
enforce- you won't be
PR
able to
education
enforce it.
campaign?
If we can't enforce it, the one thing and the group last night was pretty adamant about is, if we're gonna do this, we need to do it with teeth. So it starts and people realize there's a strict fine. And even the chief was like, listen, we'll do what we need to do. They like to educate, but, there's certain things that she said, especially with people leaving poop behind and all that, there's zero tolerance for that. And then as we expand who's going to be able to walk on properties and for what fees, we have to be able to enforce that if people are spending money.
I guess what I'm saying, again, from an educational PR standpoint, that you might be able to educate people if you're not at the point yet where you can roll this out officially, where you're all of a sudden like almost giving people like an educational button or something that like, this is coming, get used to it. You know, you're a good neighbor by wearing this button. You know what I'm saying? It's more like a...
No, I hear you, but the challenge that we have at the state hospital especially is so many people from out of town,
Yeah.
and they're random, right? And so that's going to be the challenge. Like when we first do this, it's like going into I think, Borderland Park. You've got somebody right there, and you've got to be able to show. We're going to have to be that strict early on, but the money should be supporting that. And like, again, like one little tidbit, like when there was math done last night as to what these dog walkers can make, there can be some decent fees charged for dog walkers because they're making a decent amount of money on town property. Like, we're talking like multiple thousands, so it's...
I totally get it. It's going to take a little while for people to get up to speed, and
Yeah.
people like to be informed before something happens.
Yeah.
And you could actually do it I think, in a fun, educational way before this actually is implemented.
Yeah.
That would say, this is coming. We have a committee that's working on this. Just be prepared for some changes. So they're not completely surprised when all of a sudden this gets rolled out. So you might be able to do that. You might be able to use that time period before the next town meeting to use that as a way to sort of say, okay, this is coming. Get ready for it, you know.
If it gets voted in.
Well, you could have signs, you could recruit people who are already engaged right now at these meetings to say, we need you to be spokespeople, we need you to be we need you to help us get the word out. We don't want to surprise anybody at the last minute. I mean, there's ways you can do it with people that are already engaged in the committee. You know, even just walking up there, and people who walk up there all the time, would you be willing to hand out, a little bit of information to people that are
No flyers, because that's trash.
Well, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, I know.
Buttons. It
Yeah.
could be something that people would wear and that people would start asking about, and would get the word out.
Yep. Okay.
Next item is discussion and potential vote to endorse a coordinated commitment. Oh, never mind, that's what we already talked about. Next, vote to approve the energy manager intermunicipal agreement with the towns of Norwood and Sharon.
Yes, so we have been, as you know, trying to fund the energy manager position for over a year with the grant we received. We have been working with Norwood and Sharon, and we have actually hired an energy manager who will work for all three towns. But we need to have an intermunicipal agreement so that we set out what the pay structure is going to be and what each town is responsible for.
Okay.
Sharon and Norwood have been great at bringing us into this situation as I was already advertising, so it's great.
If I'd known that, I would have taken care of that.
I know, it's okay.
And Norwood and Sharon their select boards have already signed.
Yeah, they've already signed the IMA, so we're ready to go, and even starts on April 21st.
Questions, comments?
So moved.
No, well, I have questions.
questions?
No, I'll let you take it.
Questions, Pete?
No.
Okay. Question I had, I already mentioned this to you, Christine, in paragraph 6, it only mentions Medfield's obligation. It gets cleared up in section 3, paragraph A, I think, because it almost seems like that paragraph shouldn't, section 6 paragraph shouldn't be there. It's the one that says Medfield's paying $60,000. It doesn't say what the other two towns are doing. You get to section 3, and it basically makes it clear. And I wound up seeing it clearly in section 3, and I said, why, that paragraph doesn't even need to be in section 6. Because it looked like we sort of, somehow or another, being singled out.
So we're singled out because our money is coming from grant money.
Okay.
So we need to indicate to the state what our allocation is for this IMA.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it
Yeah.
is the grant money is very specific that it has to be used towards the energy manager.
Yeah.
And through
Yeah.
this agreement, we also might be hiring a part-time assistant, but those additional costs would have to be picked up by Norwood and Sharon.
Right.
Our funds can't go towards that. It can be-
Yeah, so we're just laying out
So you're saying that
exactly what ours.
paragraph does need to be there
Yes.
Yes.
specifically? Okay.
Yep.
I withdraw my question.
Yep.
Pete put a motion on the table.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's approved. Next, we have a vote Yeah, we're good. Vote to authorize the town administrator to sign Exhibit A within the intermunicipal agreement with the town of Walpole to have KP Law PC manage the negotiations with Win Waste Innovations for our waste disposal consortium contract, avoiding the need for each municipality to negotiate separate contracts.
So moved.
Well,
You had
I
a
have
series, you had a series of questions,
Yeah, I have
so.
questions. So, so bottom line, though, is this is a consolidated contract. Walpole is taking the lead in negotiating with Win. And I think the way it was worded is that when Walpole negotiates the terms of the contract with Win, separate contracts will be, basically separate identical contracts
Yes.
will be developed for each town that's participating in this. So presumably, we would then see our contract negotiated by Walpole that we would then sign like any other contract that we sign. The questions I had on this, the first one was, how did Win get selected? So, and Christine, I've asked you these questions, so we'll just answer
Yep.
them here. So my first question, how did it get selected? In other words, is Win the contractor that we already use?
Yes, this used to be what we called the Wheelabrator contract, and they've changed their name, so now it's Win.
So we're continuing on with.
With
who we've
Wheelabrator.
always
Don't have
had.
any real options.
Okay,
Yep.
and we're choosing not to recompete or reopen it. We're willing to continue to work with them.
They're pretty much the only game in town.
Another good reason not to
Yeah.
try to compete it.
Yeah.
And then my main question is probably useful, is what results are we expecting to get from this process? So what I'm getting at is, if it made sense for us to join in with Walpole to negotiate to have them negotiate a contract on our behalf, that as a follow-on to a contract that we already have that we negotiated ourselves, what is the better result we're hoping to get from that process?
So we didn't negotiate the last contract with Wheelabrator by ourselves. That was a consortium as well, 20 years ago.
Okay.
I did talk to Mo. There were 34 that were invited at the beginning to maintain that consortium. He was not sure exactly who maintained, but he thought it was the majority of everybody was going to stay in
Okay,
it.
so we're just doing what we've been doing before?
Yes, it's just a continuation.
Okay.
Yep.
Then I guess we can take a motion.
I did. So moved again.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye, aye.
Aye, okay. That one's done. Next, vote to sign a contract with Daigle Electrical Construction for intersection improvements at North Meadows Road, Route 27 and Dale Street for $97,979.
Yep. So this was set aside from a few years ago. This was actually the Medfield Meadows development. This was the amount of money they set aside, the town put into a revolving fund, and they are going to be making pedestrian mobility improvements, sidewalk patches. There will be cement, concrete, accessible ramps with new granite curbing. They're doing installation of wire loop detection, emergency preemption system, new traffic signal equipment, and new crosswalks, new crosswalk. I don't know if you've been down in that intersection. They are
Bad.
really bad.
Yeah.
So
No,
new
I read this,
crosswalk
that's what I was
signals.
hoping.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye, aye.
Okay. Next is a vote to sign a contract with Apex Companies LLC for the risk and resilience assessment and emergency response plan updates for Medfield's water system. The value of the contract is $35,000.
This is a DEP requirement for all water systems. You have to update your plan every 5 years, and this amount of money was approved at last year's town meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye,
Aye,
aye.
aye.
Aye. See, I told you this would really speed up. Next, vote to award the DPW Service Awards for Surge G to the winning bidders and authorize DPW Director to sign corresponding contracts for a 12-month period commencing March 1st, 2026. I noted in the packet that there are an incredible number of specific items that are on the Surge G schedule, and I'm hoping that I can just say those specific
Yes.
things can be found in the packet itself, and I don't have to go read them. Is that okay? Okay,
Because it'd be individual contracts.
yep, okay.
$135 an hour for snow roof shoveling.
You volunteering?
Well, it's tempting,
For that
isn't it?
price, yeah.
You can get on a retainer over the summer months,
I have shoveled snow off roofs.
so you're qualified.
Don't fall off.
As long as you have enough forms of identification to prove who you are, we have a snow shoveling job for you.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye, aye.
Aye, okay. Next is a vote to sign engagement letters with Robert E. Brown II, CPA, for the town's annual audit, single audit, and end-of-year report review. Price or value of the contract is $44,000.
This is just our standard.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
this is
So moved.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye, aye.
Okay, approved. Next, vote to sign the contract with Beta for the Route 109 assessment to conduct an evaluation of the timing of town-owned traffic signals along the Route 109 corridor at 4 signalized intersections. Value of the contract, $75,000.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye, aye.
Aye. And,
Are we going to get the intellectual property from whatever they do so that the next time we need to do it, we'll have that ready to go? Okay, good.
all right, consent agenda. We have,
Gus.
I'm sorry,
We
yeah,
added one.
sorry. Yeah, there's one more. Vote to sign the Maya Health Benefits Trust renewal proposal for 2027.
Everything's up
I had
9%.
provided an update earlier this year. We had anticipated a 19% increase in our health insurance. The Maya Benefits Trust decided to not fund coverage for GLP-1s, and our cost increase was reduced to 9.94% for our insurance. And now you realize that was also, we originally had 1.3 guidance from the warrant committee. That was increased to 1.8 once we reflected the savings in the forecast.
Yep.
But just to point out, our dental plan did increase 10.6, and no increase on our vision.
Okay, now before I go to the consent agenda, I see we have a letter here, a letter of support for Natick's Regional
Yes.
MVP application. That's not on the agenda, but what are we doing with it?
It should be on
Yes, it
there.
is.
We're-
It's on the revised.
On the revised, those were the 4
agenda.
things we revised.
Next page.
next-
We need to vote.
Flip to the wrong one,
Maya
so-
and-
Did we, yeah, you need to vote Maya first.
Sorry.
So moved.
Yeah, we got a second.
All those in favor?
Oh, I missed something there. I was like, okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's approved. That's,
That's what we're getting to right now.
That's what we're on
Yeah.
the next thing is request to authorize the chair to sign the statement of support for Natick's Regional MVP application on behalf of the Charles River Climate Compact.
This obligates the town to an in-kind donation of $250, which we usually do annually with staff time. The Neponset and the Charles have both offered generously to help us with our education campaign. This is separate, but have both generously offered to help us with our education campaign for the dog poop. So,
Okay, so moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye, aye.
Aye, okay. Good. Okay, now we get to the consent agenda. There's only one there's only one item on the consent agenda.
There's
Are
red.
they both, there's another item. Okay, there's 2 items. Thank
17.
you. Yeah, I've got 2. I got all my notes on the original. So 2 items on the consent agenda. 1, Belforge one-day alcohol permit requests listed below for the 2026 season, and requests for sandwich boards in the 4 approved locations from April 17th to May 1st in advance of our season opening on May 2nd. The specific days for the one-day alcohol permit.
I'm comfortable on the 1 days with you just referencing.
Okay, so the
Within the consent
specific
agenda.
days are listed as items A through R on the agenda for this meeting. I have one question for Jean, who always tries to sneak through one opening hour before noontime. On May 16th, it says from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. In the past, we've agreed that you could set things up before noontime, but you can't sell before noontime. So that's the only issue I had. Huh?
On Sundays,
Especially on Sundays.
we'll make it 12 o'clock on.
12 o'clock, so,
Make it a rainy day.
look, I thought you were just testing the system, Gene. All right, so that's 12. It doesn't mean you can't set up. It just means you can only test, the bartenders can only test their drinks to make sure they're being properly mixed.
So it'll be 12 PM.
So 12 p.m. Yeah, thank
12
you.
a.m.
Thank you.
That would really be sneaking something by.
We'll show you. We will show you. You think you're so smart. That would be a good start to the season, though, Gene. All night Belforge party. It would be like, you could
I was like, wait, we could talk about
advertise it as the last man standing competition, and it might just work. Okay. Huh? Yeah, yep. Okay, and then the second consent request is a request to post signs at the corner of North 109 and South Street, Route 27, from March 25th through May 2nd, advertising the 5th Annual Ferry Walk. Do we usually approve, that's what, I guess that's 6 weeks, something, I guess what's the limit we usually do?
We usually do 2 weeks.
So this is a little bit longer than that.
Yes, and so you have in the past approved it, but it has to,
Yeah.
you have to acknowledging that it's past 2 weeks.
Okay.
Or you can do whatever you want.
So, hate to mess with ferry walk people here in town.
Gee, I'd never mess with
We
the
could-
ferries.
Do you think we can just not challenge the
It's just a
supernatural?
policy, it's not
Huh?
anywhere written down.
Yeah, it applies to
Once you do
people
it
who
for
put
one.
signs up, not ferries,
well, that's
so
the
we're
same.
okay.
That's my only concern.
All right, we'll, I'm
what-
prepared to not stand on ceremony here.
I'll move the consent agenda then.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye, aye.
All right. They owe us. All right, next thing is a gift, vote to accept a gift of $1,500 from Nancy McCabe to Medfield Outreach.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye, aye.
Aye.
See, it was worth your time sticking it out here, Kathy.
It's never dull.
Yeah, never done. Citizen comment. I don't think we have any, right? No
Nope.
citizen comment other than what we've already gotten. Meeting minutes, I ran out of steam. I didn't get to these.
Same here.
So, okay.
Well, we
so
took up
it's-
most of your time today, so.
Yeah, I kind of. So we're going to defer all three of those. Pete, are you squared away on those three?
I am.
Okay. Pete gets extra points for being prepared tonight. Town administrator update.
2 quick updates. One, I referenced, we've hired a new energy manager, Eden Floyd, and she starts on April 21st, and she will be in an office on this floor. And then I want to talk to you about a really great partnership that we have going for this year's town meeting, and that the town administration has partnered with the 5th grade Girl Scouts for their Bronze Award, and they are going to be promoting town meeting and trying to get people to go to town meeting. So we met with them yesterday, and we kicked off our project, and they're going to report back, and you're going to see posters, and you're going to see lots of engagement and reminders as to why you should go to town meeting to get their Civic Engagement Bronze Award.
Can we recruit them for the dog medallion thing? I know we tap the Eagle Scouts for things.
Free
Absolutely.
Girl Scout cookies.
There are no Girl Scout cookies involved in this transaction, much to our chagrin.
Hey, could you give me the name of the energy manager and start date again?
Eden Floyd,
Eden Floyd, okay.
and April 21st. Right?
Yeah, and I think she'll start April 21st in Norwood.
Yeah, she's gonna, her schedule will be, we can let you know when she'll be here.
Yeah, I just-
One day a
okay,
week here
great.
and the rest remote.
Okay.
Do we have power surge around here? Because my battery, I just realized is about 1%.
While you're doing that, let me bring up the other thing we've done. We just applied, we met with Rep Vaughn. It's been 2 years that we've been working on it, so we did put it in the capital budget, but the earmark opportunity came up, and considering the number of problems we've had in this room in the last 3 months, really pushed us to apply for it, so we should hear shortly. So, yeah, that's it.
Very good. Okay, the next meetings, at least as we go through the year, the number of dates goes down. Our March 30th is the annual town election. Please, everyone, come out and vote. Our meetings in April of the Select Board will be on April 7th and April 21st, first and third Tuesdays of the month. May 4th is our annual town meeting. And then our first and second meetings in May for the Select Board will be on May 12th, assuming we usually always have a quick one before the annual meeting, but our full-blown meeting, May 12th and May 19th. In June, we have first and third Tuesdays, June 2nd and June 16th. In July and August, currently, we only have one each month. July's meeting will be on July 14th. August meeting will be on August 18th. Select Board member reports. Eileen, take it
All
away.
righty, so I have been pretty busy since our last meeting on, what was it, 3rd. That next day, we had our school building committee meeting where they did the OPM interviews, which was very interesting to sit through. And then I know that the subcommittee voted on the OPMs that they're going to be recommending to the state, and I think if I have my dates correct, that should be going in early April. Yeah, so we should know, God willing, if we got the OPM that we put as number 1. But all 3 of them were great, so, if whoever we get's going to be great, but if, hopefully we get the one that we, that the subcommittee had selected. I also had a chance to then sit in the school committee meeting where Marcus Vaughn, Becca Rausch, and Josh Tarski sat in. And it was just nice to hear them kind of give updates of what's going on. And it was an interesting meeting. And then sat in the warrant committee meeting, or sat, once again, remotely, which I referenced earlier. I thought Steve did a great job summarizing the different costs, and everyone on the warrant committee was extremely respectful to knowing there's going to be financial numbers that are just going to be an easy no for residents. So that, and then that was the warrant committee meeting where the citizens petition was reviewed. And there was a comment made by the citizen that he did send a letter to individually to select board members. I'm assuming you two did respond, because he said there were 2 that responded. I did not, only because I reached out to Parks and Rec to say, I'm reading this, I want to know if he's had a chance to talk with you guys. And they, at the time, had said that they were trying to get together, but they were going to have him at a meeting, and then it turned out he wasn't able to make the meeting, so I have not spoken with him. But I think it's really important that people talk to our elected boards just to get all the facts straight. And then I sat in the ZBA meeting the other night. They did an overview with Rose Bay. The key topics for that meeting was fire access, just make sure that there would be enough turnaround, snow removal, traffic. And I will say, the ZBA does a great job, trying to get input from various residents. I had a conversation with Brian McMillan back in, I want to say it was like Memorial Day weekend 2023. And in that meeting, we were talking about the project, and we were talking about, it's going to be abutting the backside of the high school. And I know that Tilden Village has a fence just to keep people, keep the kids out. I mean, if you have a fence, it's a little bit harder just to wander on the property, right? And it sounds like the neighbors may not be in favor of having a fence. But the only thing I brought up to Brian was, it's something you really need to consider. And if you do put a fence up, would you be open to just cleaning up the fence right across the board? So if you've seen how kind of dilapidated the fence is for Tilden Village, if you're going to clean that area up, because, it's going to be a beautiful building. And he said, you can't say a definite yes, but certainly open to all sorts of ideas and suggestions. Because even one of the neighbors is saying there's a dirt path that allows people to cut through Pound Street down to the high school. And there's been discussions, would they put that path inside the parking lot so that the fence that would be up separating the neighbors from this new development, the kids would be walking through the complex parking lot, which one of the neighbors said that doesn't really make sense. You kind of want to keep the kids out of that parking lot. So if you put a fence up, if you put some sort of barrier so that the kids could be walking on a path, they'd be walking behind our homes, which they've been doing all along. So the neighbors I thought it was a really good dialogue, and there wasn't a lot of stiff no's, not interested. It was a healthy conversation. And last night, as I've referenced multiple times, I sat in the dog control bylaw meeting. It was very well attended. It was very, everyone was really respectful. It was a very healthy conversation. I thought the chief did a great job just really setting the stage, and Barry did it here tonight, to just have people understand what they're seeing and what their concerns are. But there were professional dog walkers here. There were people, there was a resident from Dover, just a healthy conversation. So I think the committee did a fantastic job. And as I said earlier, too, I've been stopping by the state hospital just to get a read on, what they're seeing, what they're hearing, especially early on because it caught people off guard. And I wanted people to know that it was nothing premeditated. There was a rumor that, we had all decided this and we just dumped, and like, that's so far from the truth. Like, we don't talk to one another until we get to this table. So when I made my references about being up there, you guys weren't even aware that I had done that. And then I will do kudos, and Christine got my text the other day. Now that I'm out walking Bennett at the high school again, I love Rob and Ben. Those guys are doing a great job. So the cement that has been just dilapidated in front of the auditorium entrance, they've been able to repair that. And then there had been for, I'm gonna say at least 2 years, an open a pole had fallen down, a light pole, and all the wires and everything had been exposed. And then someone at one point just put like tape over it. Now there's a very sturdy metal cap. So I sent Christine a text, and I was like, oh, walking through the high school, I love that these guys are, they're tackling the projects that are so like right in front and center. When you're walking in the auditorium, you would see this dilapidated cement. So that was a positive. And other than that, let me just check my notes. No, I've been busy. A lot of meetings.
Everybody's been busy.
Yeah, a lot of meetings this time of the year, right? So that's my story.
Pete?
Energy Committee had a meeting. Emily Lowney has put together the decarbonization roadmap. That is something that the town needs to adopt. The Select Board and the School Committee both need to adopt it if we're going to become a climate leader. Climate leader is what gets you access to these grants from the state that are upwards of $1 million. So that we want to become a climate leader. And that has to get approved by June. The Energy Committee didn't seem to think that the Select Board and the School Committee could approve it by June, but I'm hoping that both can. Specialized energy code, that's another part of the things that has to happen if we're going to become a climate leader. That's a annual town meeting warrant article. It only applies to new construction. It requires greater energy efficiency for any new construction only. There's an EV car show coming that Chris Gordon from the Energy Committee is working to set up along with some other, I'm not sure who else is doing it. Let's see, I listened to the school committee where the reps were there. I held office hours the first Friday of every month, 9 o'clock at the Council on Aging's building, if anybody ever wants to come. Medfield Foundation had a couple meetings. One was the board meeting, and that was basically to set up the Legacy Fund grant for 2026. The deadline was on the 15th to apply for those. I went to the Outreach Department's CAF meeting, Community Assistance Fund. It's very impressive to see the diligence that is brought to these requests for people who don't have enough money to be able to pay rent or whatever it is. So, I listened to the Warrant Committee on their program about the overrides. Steve Callahan is very impressive man. He's doing just a wonderful job. I listened to the Planning Board on their sign bylaw and their mixed-use overlay district, and I think those are both going to be very good updates for the town. That's it.
Part of the time over the last couple of weeks, I was out on the West Coast visiting my son, so the last meeting I joined remotely, which was fun. And again, Pete, thank you for handling the meeting in person. The Community Choice Aggregation Committee had a meeting back on Tuesday the 10th. I think I explained this last time. We're in the process, the contracts that we have for renewable energy that have been what the Community Choice Aggregate or Medfield Community Electric is providing. We're about a year out from the end of that contract, so we have to start reports or plans, I should say, the plans, so that the Good Energy that works with us reformatted the whole plan, and now we're going through a review of the whole plan. Most of it is sort of a mechanical reformat, but there are a few places where we've had questions and made changes. So last Tuesday's meeting was the second meeting designed to finish up our committee's review of the changes that were there. And now all that's left is Good Energy is going to basically absolutely finalize it and send it back out. We have another meeting scheduled another week or two from now. I met Abby Goldenfarb at Blue Moon to talk about basically there's pending legislation in the Massachusetts legislature that will apparently liberalize brownfield investments and the credits that come from brownfield investments. So usually you think of brownfield, kind of like the rail trail was built on brown. We didn't have to completely clean it up. That's a brownfield site. This is something that apparently would allow people who are working on remediating buildings, like the buildings up at the state hospital, to get tax credits, brownfield tax credits for remediating the hospital. And what she'd asked was that I give Becca Rausch a call to basically indicate that the town certainly supports this legislation and hopes that Becca can help push it through. There are a couple of specific amendments that they wanted that made it, I think, set it up to where it'd be easier for them to get those credits. Bill?
But the property is not a brownfield.
It's got, well, if you think of brownfield in the...
I mean, I looked at that 10 years ago or 12 years ago.
If you think of brownfield sites as being sites that are not expected to be returned to pristine condition, then when they're talking about the buildings that are being remediated, the idea would be that, well, we're remediating the building, but it's not being brought up to some pristine condition. Therefore, the issue is the legislation opens up the possibility of getting tax credits for remediating a building like that. And it's restricted to, to large-scale housing.
I'm just curious, because, I mean, we went through that when we were looking at buying the property and everything else, but it didn't qualify. I hope it does.
Well, the laundry, if we ever do anything with laundry parcel, that part would certainly qualify. My point is, this legislation is trying to extend that kind of accommodation that applies to sites. Yeah. So, well, they're hoping to get help in getting that through. Let's see. I've got all the way to Friday. We had the candidates forum for the select board candidates, so Pete Saladino and I had a pretty enjoyable hour and a half. It was a fun. When I first ran for selectman, I thought about the weekends you have to hold signs out on the streets. I thought that was going to be such an incredible waste of time and boring, and I got a big kick out of that. And the same thing here. This was just a lot of fun. I congratulate Pete. Nobody does this, but I congratulate Pete for running against me, because it's a lot more fun to run for to the agreement on. Everybody there thought that $2 million plus override amount was probably the right one to go for. You both will have to weigh in when it comes time for the select board to approve it. The warrant committee still has to weigh in and vote on it, and the school committee itself still will have to agree, but at least the working group of the representatives from those three groups wound up converging on the same single point as what seemed to be a reasonable, if you're below $1 million, it's almost not worth the override. And depending on how you feel about a $3 million override, it seems awfully big. So that $2 million was just right, kind of in the Goldilocks sense of the word. And that brings us up to tonight, so that's it.
Move to adjourn, then.
All right, I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thanks for those who stuck it out. Thanks for all the people who came and didn't stick it out, but they came to start with. We'll see you in about 3 weeks, I guess it is, not 2 weeks.
heaven on your property. Thank you for taking the time to learn about how to manage spotted lanternfly. To learn more, visit mass.gov/spotted-lanternfly.